everyone. Welcome to the stream. Is my background music playing? Welcome to the podcast, the Nocturnal Nerdcast, Pop Culture in the Dark, YouTube's #1 late night fandom podcast. At least I feel like it is. You know what I mean? Hope everybody's having a good beginning of their week. A lot of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of small stories, a couple big stories. So far, it's just me. It's just us. It's just you guys and me. We're just hanging out, having some fun. But yeah, we got a few things to talk about. Before we get started, I do want to say that the monthly goal for this month, as you can see here, is for my small cat, my little tiny petite cat that you guys see, Nairobi. She has to have surgery. And the surgery is going to have to happen before the end of the month. So any donations for this month will be going to the surgery for Nairobi. So hopefully she appreciates it. We'll see. We have a lot of trailers to look at tonight. I know that Darren said he's going to be stopping in, so he'll be here at some point. We might save the trailers for when Darren shows up. We do have some news to cover. If you are watching on the Reloaded channel, we're going to be covering, well, we're covering all of it, but this is what's in the title. The Superman budget stuff. There's drama around that, but there's conflicting reports on the, I guess, legitimacy of the budget and like what they need to make. So we're going to talk about that. Disney is having massive layoffs. We're going to dive into that and see if we can figure out what's going on with that. Of course, Netflix trailers. If you're watching on the Debunks channel, you'll notice in the title, we're going to be talking about the Jonathan Joss, and I'm going to be very careful about how I talk about this so we can give YouTube a little bit of time to buffer. The incident with Jonathan Joss, RIP, from Parks and Rec, King of the Hill, and the fact that there's a lot to unpack with that story. So we're going to talk about that. What else over there? Disney saying streaming is dead, the Andor budget, and yeah, a few other things. So Darren's in a different stream right now discussing The Last of Us Season 2. Who's live now? Who's live this time of night on a Monday other than me? Who is it? I demand to know. I want to know. Paige, okay, so the deal with Paigey is I'm not going to give out personal details about what's going on with Paigey. But he's only going to be available on the weekends for now. So, but he'll be on. Maybe he can come in and do the what is it? The podcast, the quiz that 3Dub has made. So, anyway. So, wait, Ronan or Lisa Says What or Ronan Unchained? Which channel is it? I demand to know. There's a King of the Hill I don't know, it's not a reboot. A revival, I think is what it is. It's a King of the Hill revival. So the show's coming back. I saw the advertisement for it. And yeah, it's wild. We'll probably talk about that first. I'd like to do that first because it's a sad story. So I'd like to get that out of the way early if possible. So there's that. Let's see here. What do we got going on with you guys? As always, Super Chat goal is up for both channels. So Season 14 on Hulu. Yeah. Ronan Unchained channel. Shout out to Ronan. He was in the stream the other day. Came in to say hi. So, go see him. Hey, what's up, Anthony? How you doing? So, should we talk about... I'm going to ask you guys. Do you want to start out with the down news and go up from there? Or save the down news for the end of the podcast, for the end of the stream? Just give me a general idea. We got like 53 people watching. Give me a general idea if you guys want to start out with like the bad stuff and then get through that first, or save that till the end. Just let me know. Thoughts on the Doctor Who finale? I'm still kind of trying to determine how I feel about it. I told Darren, we talked about it here a little bit. I wasn't a big fan of this season of Doctor Who. It's not really the casting or anything like that. It's just like the vibe change. The last 2 seasons, for me personally, there was a vibe change. And I liked some of it, but I didn't like all of it. So for me, it was tough. This season was tough. So it was kind of like that. Look, my friends loved it. They watched it every week. They loved it. They were waiting every morning to get up and watch it. So I had to watch it with them. But, you know, I like Billie Piper. So I don't have a problem with Billie Piper. You know, this is what it is. Have I seen the drama behind the scenes? No, I haven't seen any of that. All right, so you guys want to talk about the Jonathan Joss stuff. Okay, so we'll start with that. We're about 8 minutes in. Let's go ahead and talk about this, okay? Let me pull this up over here. So and discussing film lately has had to limit replies on their on some of their posts for different reasons. I understand why they're doing this. Actually, I think anytime someone is hurt or affected in this way, they probably need to be more careful about what they allow. Sorry, my camera was in the wrong spot. So this is kind of, okay, hold on. Before we do this, let me read to you guys. I've got another tweet here that has the details on this before we get into the statement from his partner. Where's it at here? Actually, you know what? We'll read this first, and then I'll go over the incident here. Hold on. All right, here we go. Actually, there was a fatal shooting that occurred with Joss and his husband, Tristan, were visiting the remains of their home, which had been destroyed in a fire earlier in the year. During the visit, their neighbor, Sigfredo, confronted them, allegedly, because this is a statement. Again, it's breaking news. Directed homophobic slurs at the couple and opened fire. Joss was fatally shot while protecting his husband. We're going to read about the arrest and the investigation here in a second. But let's look at the statement here. So this is the statement from Tristan. And I just want to give some trigger warnings if you know, you guys are upset. Anybody here is upset about hearing about animals and things like that. This might trigger you. So just trigger warning on that. So this is from Tristan. My husband, Jonathan Joss, and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. That home was burned down after 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire. So that's why the house was burned down, because of all of this. Same people that were confronting them. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times, and nothing was done. Throughout that time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. It's also crazy this happened at the beginning of Pride Month. It's just crazy. Like, never good when you're being harassed by people and they're burning down your house. But to have a shooting occur at the beginning of Pride Month, it's crazy. When we returned to the site to check out our mail, we discovered the skull. This is the part. Okay, trigger warning. When we returned to the site to check out our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs and its harness placed in clear view. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violent homophobic slurs at us, then raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way and saved my life. Jonathan is my husband, gave me love in our time together. Most people don't ever get. We were newlyweds. We picked Valentine's Day. We were in the process of looking for a trailer and planning our future. He was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other. Now, of course, that's why the term allegedly is being used. This is still being investigated. But it doesn't seem like there's anybody that was there that's saying this isn't what happened. So let me read to you the follow-up about this. So Sigfredo Alvarez Seja was arrested shortly after the incident and charged with first-degree murder, while Joss's husband believes the attack was motivated by homophobia. The San Diego Police Department has stated that there was no current evidence supporting this claim, and that's because they have to investigate. So when they say that, that means that they're not going to say it until they have investigated. This literally just happened, which means they're not going to say that yet until they investigate all of these claims. However, if this is what happened, if this is in fact what happened, it was a hate crime. 100%. So we still have to figure out if this is what the issue was. Says Jonathan had a distinguished career in television and film. He voiced John Redcorn in King of the Hill from seasons 2 to 13 and portrayed Chief Ken Hotate in Parks and Rec. He was also in True Grit, Magnificent Seven, Walker, Texas Ranger. He's a musician performing with the Red Corn Band. So there we go. Oh, we have Jake in the house in the green room back here.
Oh,
what's up, Jake? How are you doing?
Hey there, Eric. How are you? Thank you for the invite. I
know
I keep wearing the shirt on multiple ones of these, but whenever I see, Big Blue on the thumbnail, I'm like, okay, I'll don the shirt again.
We got to talk about Superman. Some debunking some stories and rumors about it, but
yes.
Did you see about what happened to Jonathan?
Yes. Yes, I did. Further evidence that we live in a fucked up world. In case anybody was unsure about that.
I also want to point out the fact that this even happened, even if they determine that this doesn't qualify in their opinion for a hate crime, the simple fact that people are walking up to other people in neighborhoods and just shooting at them for checking their mailbox is crazy.
Like, you can't even feel safe in your own home anymore.
Right. It's just crazy. Like, what the actual fuck? So, anyway, we'll talk more about this if we get more information on it, because again, if it does determine it's a hate crime, they're gonna do more digging. So we'll see. But again, I want to reiterate, hate crime or not, this is fucked up. The whole situation is fucked up to do this to anybody. So, all right, let's lower that down for a second.
If your solution to not liking someone's way of life is to get rid of that life, you are a fucked up person.
Absolutely 100%. So Darth here says, just want to say I love your vids and how you're exposing the grift. Thank you, Darth. I appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of the channel, helping to mess with the algorithm, this YouTube algorithm.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't know if anybody from your chat was in here last night. I think some of them were, maybe. But I just want to give a quick shout out because we had one of the bigger live stream audiences that I've ever had on my channel last night. Mm-hmm. So if anybody in here was watching that, I just want to give a massive thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, cool. Great stuff. Reed says, it kills my spirits. Hate is becoming more prevalent in America, and it's so sad to see. Yeah, I mean, it's just all around. I'll be honest with you guys. Even the people that are supposedly happy about everything that's going on seem to be miserable. So it's one of those things where I see videos of people who are happy about like all of the political stuff that's I'm not going to dive into it. I don't want to turn it into a politics stream, but
right.
The people that seem to be quote unquote winning are still miserable. So, I mean, like, where can we be happy about stuff? Is that possible? I mean,
I missed the point where that wasn't such like a taboo thing where you could just like what you like. You could have a different opinion from somebody else without being crucified, and then you both just went about your business.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, let's talk about this.
As extreme as the 90s was, it makes me miss that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said before, I feel like social media ruined fandoms.
Oh yeah, and you want to know the biggest reason why that is? Because all the stuff that people say on social media, they would not have the sack to say that in real
You're
life.
absolutely right.
And
That's
they do
true.
that, they abuse that power because no one's there to hit them in the mouth.
Yeah, that's true. The funny thing is when you point that out to somebody, like, are you threatening me? No, I'm just telling you the truth. When I was growing up, if you went up and said to someone in front of their face the stuff that people say to people on the internet, you would get in a fight every single time.
Yeah, and they were ugly.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about something that I find really interesting. Warner Brothers was reportedly eyeing Michael Bay to direct a Henry Cavill-led Superman movie in 2022. Can we imagine what a Michael Bay Superman movie would look like? I mean, just for a second.
Just imagine if the Transformers movies had humans instead of robots. It would have basically been that.
I mean, first of all, every camera shot would be super up close because that's what he did. Every shot is close, and the far away shots are chaotic. You can't even tell what's going on half the time.
And there would be about 50 or so explosions, probably.
Yeah, Cody, I'm going to wait for Darren to get here to talk about anything Karate Kid Legends related, and I was going to wait for Lance to get here if he was going to show up because he went and saw it and didn't have a good opinion of it. Did you see it
Darren
yet?
Coming tonight?
He said he was.
Okay. No, I haven't seen it yet, but
they said he was.
If you guys want to talk spoilers, feel free. I won't stop you.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it yet either, so that's why I was going to wait for them because I haven't seen it and it's not on my priority list right now. Only because people that I trust, like Darren and Lance, have said it wasn't very good. So I don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes, but when people have a similar taste as me, sometimes it'll make me go, well, maybe I'll wait and see it Monday or Tuesday or something of next week.
I put absolutely no stock into Rotten Tomatoes. Ever since I looked on there and saw that Sharknado got an 84%, I said, okay, you guys have lost all credibility.
Yeah, I don't use that to judge whether or not I'm ever going to see anything. That's literally not what I do.
Nope.
But yeah, so Jay Bradley Rawlins here mentioned earlier that I guess he lives near where all the stuff happened with Jonathan Joss and his partner. There's a long-standing feud between the two. Neighbors are saying there were previous confrontations with JJ brandishing a pitchfork. Look, neighbors have feuds. I have neighbors that I don't get along with, but you don't pull guns on them.
No, that's not just
you know what I mean?
Anybody's life.
Right. I get it. People get heated. They might go, I'm gonna punch your lights out or something like that, but you don't pull a gun out on someone and start firing. That's just crazy to me.
And the fact that this is a small rabbit hole, but the fact that kids are being brought up to think that this kind of behavior is okay.
Yeah.
Because I'll go back into my hometown, I live a good, 4 or 5 hours away from family. Whenever I go back into there,
a crossbow, holy shit.
More than once I've seen people walk down the streets, and these are 12, 13-year-olds, since they don't have, access to a pocket knife or a gun or anything like that. They'll pull a pair of scissors on another kid, threaten to, do actions to them that I can't say live, but it's just sad the fact that kids are being brought up to think that this kind of behavior is acceptable.
Yeah, that's wild. Let's see here. Chris here says, I'm sorry, the possibility of a Michael Bay Man of Steel movie sounds like a fucking disaster.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, Jay Bradley, I wasn't insinuating you were defending. I was reiterating my opinion on it. That I just don't think it's okay to do that. I wasn't suggesting that you were saying that. So, all right, what do we got?
Really question the mental capacity of those who do consider this kind of act acceptable.
Yeah, 100%. Let me see. I'm trying to keep all the Superman stuff together, but I have multiple things here.
Let's just say I'm personally glad this did not happen.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I just thought it was funny to mention because I'm not a big Michael Bay fan anyway. There's one or two of his movies that I like. But overall, I don't find him to be some amazing filmmaker. I think he does some things well. He reminds me of Zack Snyder in a lot of ways. I think Zack Snyder has things that he just nails that are absolutely genius, but he makes a lot of bad decisions as well. So,
well, I think, honestly, there is one comparison that can apply to both Michael Bay and Zack Snyder and a number of other directors, honestly, is that they're, they're acquired taste. They're what you would call spicy food directors. They're brand of film is not going to be for everybody. You know, I always use this analogy when describing them. You know, people who love spicy food, they love it. They want everything to have spice. People who don't, a little bit of spice, they want to spit it out and get a glass of water. So their style of film is going to be to a very niche, selective audience.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so I want to point this out here. So there's all this drama about like people fighting over movies right now. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but these two movies specifically are going head to head with fans. Even though they're like 3 weeks apart, they're still going head to head with fans. James Gunn says fans should focus on the positives surrounding Superman and the Fantastic Four first steps instead of pitting the two against each other. They come out 2 weeks after us. There's room for us both. I love my friends at Marvel. You can find whatever discussions you want to find online. I'd focus on all the positivity around the films instead of getting sucked up in online fan wars. Do you think that this is going to, like, statements like this are going to help, like, change the culture, or do you think it's just sort of, like, saying things because nobody's listening?
I wish that these sort of statements, or I can hope, just hope that these sort of statements will kind of change the flow of that culture, because, you know, much like the photo that was posted of Gunn and Snyder like a month or two ago, that one just shows that they are two filmmakers in the same genre. They're not competing. They're not at odds. They're not butting heads. Just like these two films should not be, you know, competing or at odds or butting heads, because, you know, if one is better than the other, or, you know, like say they're both good, either way, the only people that can win are, you know, the people involved and the ones watching them. But if one is better than the other, that doesn't mean that one group or the other is winning. And it shouldn't be, you know, a popularity contest. So I've never been into that mindset of, oh, you know, this one is coming out at the same time, this other movie is going to sweep it under the rug. I've never bought into that.
So I've said this before. I don't know if I talked about it on stream here, if it's been somewhere else, but I've talked about it previously. There's this more recent concept of what I call the sportification of movie releases, in the sense that, like, some people look at it as a battle between two rival teams instead of looking at it as things that we can just watch and enjoy.
Yeah, just celebrate two pieces of art rather than comparing the two against each other.
Right. It's like they see media like going to a football game or a baseball game or a basketball game where you have to have one team win and the other one loses. I live in a world where I believe that there's room for everybody to win. Yeah. And I'm not talking about in sports. I'm talking about in entertainment. Like, we could have all of these movies come out and be great movies, and we don't have to think that one has to beat the other one, especially when they're not even going head to head. Like, if these two movies were coming out in the same weekend, I could understand people saying, which one do you think is going to do better?
Right.
In a head to head battle. But there is a couple of weeks gap between the time that these movies come out, which means that there is going to be an opportunity for them to go up against each other, but it's not going to be until the third week of Superman.
Right. And, you know, just think, you know, like, say in an ideal situation where both of these films, you know, win, quote unquote, that only means we're going to be getting more of both of them, which is the best overall outcome.
Right.
So why wouldn't you want that?
But I also think that there's a way that fans could be, like, ultimately, I think what could happen here is if things were to go the way that the more negative fans are talking about, which is one wins and one loses, that doesn't really help superhero media or comic book media as a whole.
No.
What would happen is, and the stakes are bigger for Superman. Look, if Fantastic Four comes out and it's just okay and it does average, which I would say 400 to 500 million would be average for that, it's still fine with Marvel, because Marvel's doing the great reset with Secret Wars. They don't really care. They'll just switch it up and do something different. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, they're heading to a clean slate anyway.
Yeah. The DCU is almost entirely hinging on the success of Superman. And I know people don't want to believe that, but everything I'm seeing tells me otherwise. Like, the delay on production, not pushing any other low-budget movies out. Like, Sergeant Rock could have came out. Clayface could already... I know they've been eyeing actors for Clayface, but Clayface could have been moving along a lot faster. To me, at least from the outside, it looks like they're taking their time until Superman comes out and they can see what the interest in the James Gunn DC world is.
Right. And I think they have started to learn their lesson with, all the projects that they announced back at the 2023 slate. I think they kind of went, hey, maybe we said a little bit too much at once there, because that would have been repeating the old Warner Brothers mistake in the previous regime. One of the many things that screwed them over is they were just throwing out announcement after announcement, throwing 20 things at the wall and hoping that a few of them would stick. And much like the DCU is kind of hinging on the success of this film, if Batman v Superman, which despite making a lot of money, if that would have been more successful, the DCEU as we know it would have been in a very different spot and likely would be still ongoing. But because of that film not being successful and all the fiascos that happened afterward, it didn't. But, and this film is kind of in a similar situation, except for it didn't already have, it doesn't have another film to act as kind of the groundwork, because Man of Steel kind of acted as BVS's groundwork, its foundation, and there's not really that for this movie, because let's face it, over half of the people that are going to see this film will not have seen Creature Commandos beforehand.
True.
So there is a lot riding on this movie.
I would say more than half.
Yeah.
I would say
a lot of pressure.
I would say the majority of the people going to see this movie have not seen Creature Commandos.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, Creature Commandos was good, but it's also very, it was a very, for lack of a better term, a niche movie or niche show.
Yeah, kind of like how I described, some of those other film styles. It was an acquired taste.
Yeah. So this is the reports of Superman here. Okay, so it says Superman reportedly has a budget of $225 million. Okay, now this is where it gets sketch, and I have another tweet to sort of bring up in regards to this one. According to one insider, crossing 500 million worldwide would turn a profit. According to a top talent agent, the film needs to cross 700 million worldwide to be considered a success. I'm just going to throw this out there. That number sounds like every number we've talked about. It's the most common
Average
metric.
number.
Yeah, for superhero movies. Oh, 3Dub has arrived.
Yeah, that's always the middle ground that they go to for these.
3Dub, did you ever sleep?
Yeah.
I figured as much. Normally I hear from you. You usually hear right at the beginning, and tonight you were not. So it was like, where's 3Dub? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So 225 sounds right to me. Based on how many characters and how much special effects are in the film, I feel like 225 is right. I'm going to say this, though, and this is my issue with these kinds of numbers and these figures. When Marvel puts out a movie that's north of 200 million, people are like, oh, it has to make $1 billion to break even, right?
Right.
Which I've always said is bullshit.
No.
That's not true, right?
Just because a movie doesn't make Deadpool and Wolverine levels of money doesn't mean it's a failure.
Right. But here they're like, oh, we're going to be generous and say the movie only needs 500 million to turn a profit.
That's not a low threshold.
It's not, and that's pretty much par of the course for a $200 million movie is around 450 to 500 million to turn a profit.
And if this is, believed to be the budget for that movie, I wouldn't be shocked, because Man of Steel had close to, if not pretty damn close to this same budget. So, them making a Superman film with those levels of funds isn't shocking.
I actually feel like if this movie does extraordinarily less than Man of Steel, they're going to be worried. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, less in terms of money or
sales.
Yep. I was about to say, because despite the people that praise that movie up in the skies now, it's still in the 50s as far as critic scores go.
So the studio itself seems confident, according to one insider. If Superman grosses anything north of 500 million, the film will turn a profit. In the court of public opinion, however, it would need to gross closer to 700 million to be considered a hit. And then over here, Superman needs to cross 700 million threshold at the global box office to be considered a success, according to top age. So there's no names given, obviously.
They really are playing fast and loose with the term success, because there are plenty of comic movies that make over 700, 800 million that people dislike. So they're really playing fast and loose with the term success.
Yeah. So then we have this here. This is from Luis Fernando, who I think is probably one of the most unbiased reporters when it comes to films. If you follow his Twitter, you'll see that he doesn't put a lot of extra words and stuff. He just kind of puts out raw information, which I do appreciate. So shout out to him. If you're looking for a account to follow that gives you box office numbers that doesn't basically drum up shit, he's the account to follow. So it says here, this is driving me nuts already. Guys, once and for all, there is no tracking for Superman yet. Ticket pre-sales kickoff is still more than a week away. What you see out there are just individuals' guesstimates, aka forecasts, which only reflect their own opinion regarding what themselves individually think the movie's potential could be based on online sentiment. This is not tracking, nor any of these numbers come from the industry or the actual tracking system the industry uses. So please, let's not treat individuals' forecasts as official tracking, especially when you see each new one coming higher than the last one, almost like they're competing to see who gives the higher bet. Please wait until the actual pre-sales kickoff happens to actually see realistic actual tracking out there. And yeah, it could happen when the pre-sales start that figures out there end up being right, but it's just a coincidence. Remember when the same forecast expected the Flash to open with 115 to 140 billion? Exactly. Online sentiment can be misleading and should never be treated as a reliable metric for what's going to happen in the real world.
They also, and somebody brought it up in the chat too, where saying that Marvel is known to overspend on marketing, and sometimes that's true. But look at what this article just referenced here. Not to say that Marvel point is wrong, because some of them definitely do. But they're saying, hey, remember when the Flash was rumored to make these projections? They also spent like $100 million plus on marketing on that movie. So sometimes they certainly overspend too much on marketing when they don't have nearly enough material to market on.
100%. But I think this is where things get a little bit muddy, and this is what I've talked about quite a bit when I make videos talking about these subjects, is the term tracking is a very specific term. It's a term used for a very specific thing that is done in ticket sales. So when somebody comes out, when somebody comes out before, excuse me, when somebody comes out before ticket sales have happened and said the movie is tracking to make X amount of money, that's a lie. You can't track something without ticket sales to track. That's why it's called tracking.
Yeah, you're just making a guess without any data. There's no way to know.
And fucking YouTube has gotten so bad about this. So many channels making videos just lying about this, going, oh, it's tracking to do this, it's tracking to do that. My dude, how can it be tracking for anything when there's no ticket sales yet?
They do it for clicks.
It's not even pre-sales yet. So it's nothing sales. So it's crazy that they're doing that. And these guesstimates are fun to talk about. We're talking about it right now. But I think it's ethically important that you make it clear that these are not tracking numbers.
Right. We're talking about this right now, but we're just playing, we're constantly playing what if and throwing hypothetics out there because there's nothing to go off of yet.
Right. I will say this, the budget sounds right to me. 225 sounds like a realistic budget for a Superman movie.
Yeah.
And I also think that north of 500 million would be considered a profit. I've said that about the Marvel movies before.
Yeah. Especially with those, they're granted not so much as they were, but there's more of them that are kind of consistently being put out, so they're able to utilize all those funds that they're earning back. It's like, okay, we got this, and then we'll take what we got from here and use X amount of it into the next thing.
Yeah. 100%.
They get that built up cumulatively over time.
Oh, how you feeling, 3W? You're quiet.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I don't know if you're having trouble waking up or whatever.
Eating airheads.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's see here. I'm gonna drop a link over in the.
Is my mic coming through good, by the way?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Does it sound okay to you, 3W?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. That's echo. Don't want echo. All right.
I'm glad that there are echo cancellation settings in StreamYard now.
I know. I forgot to turn it on, but I just did. All right, so in the Debunks channel, I just dropped my AMA. I'm doing an AMA question and answer video on the Debunks channel. So if you're over there in the chat, you can click on that link and submit a question anonymously. So
is this stuff that you're going to pull up during this stream or in another video?
No, it's for a separate video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a separate video I'm going to do. I want to do a Q&A video. It's going to be early access for channel members.
Gotcha.
So
sounds like it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, Serenity, I would believe that if the channels weren't full of people that call themselves experts.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, you not knowing is fine.
Yeah.
Or a small channel that doesn't do movie sales for a living. But when we're talking about larger channels out there that are looking for hate clicks, the ones that talk about this all the time,
Yeah.
they 100% know what tracking means.
Yeah, and they wear this face that, pretends to have a lot of knowledge that they're then flipping on its head.
Yeah, 100%. So, let's see here. We had something else. Actually, we're going to drop this down for a second because we did have a super chat. By the way, we have 1 out of 10 super chats on my Reloaded channel. Remember, all your super chats this month are going to go to surgery for my cat. So any donations are appreciated. And once she's in her little surgery costume that we have for her, I will bring her on camera so you guys can see what she looks like. And she's going to be miserable wearing it for like 3 weeks.
Everything's okay.
It's so she can't have little kittens. That's the surgery. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was like an injury or something.
No. It's the situation is that she had a issue with, what was it? She's 3 years old. She had an issue last year when she was going to have the surgery where she couldn't have it. And so we had to pay for something else to get done, but I forget what they called it. So anyway, we had to postpone the surgery till this month. And the issue is that the price changed for whatever reason. And the money we set aside is not going to be enough to cover the surgery because she has to have a special, it has to be done and with like, what is it called? I'm drawing a blank on it. She has swollen glands in her neck. That I forget what it's called.
I'm not a veterinarian.
I know. I'm just tossing it out there. So she has swollen glands. So when they do the surgery, they have to do something special before they put her under. So it jacked the price up. And we have to have it done this month because we don't get it done this month. We have to wait until the end of the year. And female cats have a high probability of getting
a lymphodectomy.
Is that what it is?
It says lymphodectomy or see a local treatment. I'm just reading it to see if like the term clicks in your head.
Yeah. Your dog has arthritis. Sorry to hear that, Reed. No, the cat is fine. So, okay, let me explain what's going on here. Just in one shot so we can get it out of the way.
Yeah.
My cat needs to get fixed because we do not want her to have little baby kittens. There's a neighborhood cat that is not fixed who loves to come over when she's out in the backyard playing, and that's basically what it is. So we also found out that female cats above like 5 or 6 years old can get cancer if they're not fixed. There's a certain type of cancer they can get. So we want to get it done before that. The original surgery was going to cost like $300 and some until we found out that she has a condition with her lymph nodes or something around her head area. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, they have to do a special type of surgery to that before they can do the other surgery. And so the price almost tripled to get it done.
Is the cat stray that comes over?
Yes.
Make sure it's got shots updated and stuff like that. So
we have everything else, but like, so now we're completely off topic, but I want to finish this story. So that cat tends to mark around doors and windows, and she goes into like her meowing stuff, like her heat phase or whatever, over and over and over again because he's out there triggering it. And so it's become a thing where she's in distress, and so we want to get that taken care of. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't want to be a grandpa for my cat's kittens. No, don't want to be that. I love kittens, but we already have 2 cats. We don't want any more right now. So that's where we're at. Anyway, all of your donations this month will go to fixing that. That's what my point was. All right. So let's look at the super chat here from Cameron. $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Cameron. Eric, I don't know if you talked about this last week, but what are your thoughts on Sydney Sweeney making soap with her own bathwater?
Jesus. There are people that will buy it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't want to be disrespectful because I like Sydney Sweeney.
Right. Yeah.
But I think this is like a very niche goonery thing to do. Like it's one of those things.
Like you're asking for the objectification.
Right. And look, as long as she is okay with that, I'm not going to say that's wrong, but I just don't. This is fetish stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's a fetish thing. Yeah. And I don't want to kink shame anybody, but it's not my thing. Like I'm not buying bathwater from anybody. You know what I mean? Like that's just not. Chat, am I wrong about that? I want the chat to chime in. Y'all are putting me on the spot. I want you to chime in. Is this something you would be into? Are you looking to buy soap made of someone's bathwater?
Turn that into a poll, see how many people.
Yeah, how many people want to do that? I'd love to know what the answer to that one is.
Oh God, I'm a little scared to see those numbers.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it right now in the reload.
Oh, are you making it a poll?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Would you use someone's bathwater as soap? And you can pick whoever it is you like in your mind.
Yeah, it can be like insert celebrity here and then their bathwater.
Yeah, I want to know. We're gonna leave that poll up for a few minutes. 3Dub, don't forget in 45 minutes. Tell me to start the other poll. He's gonna forget because he didn't even answer me. All right,
it's fine. I marked it.
Good. Cameron with another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Cameron. So that's 2 out of 10. Appreciate it. Also, if you're watching on the Debunks channel, the goal over there is 5 super chats. If we reach it, you'll get a bonus stream specifically for you guys over there. It's at any tier. Eric, I'm rewatching Young Justice. Do you think season 1 and 2 are better? Yes. Yeah.
I think the best episode Young Justice ever put out was Failsafe.
That's a good one. I think Young Justice, the issue with Young Justice isn't that it got bad.
No.
It's just it got weird. Like that's the issue I have with it. Like I think I liked all the characters. I like some of the stuff they were doing with it. But I think seasons 1 and 2 had more focus. The later seasons didn't have quite as much focus for me.
No, it's like the later seasons had good self-contained episodes, but the like piece by piece leading to a grander narrative type thing wasn't nearly there as it was in seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I was hoping that, whenever Young Justice was first out, I was hoping it would act as, might sound like a weird comparison, but kind of like a spiritual successor / merger of basically the concepts of things like Justice League Unlimited and Teen Titans, where you're seeing both of those like generations of heroes on the same screen, but and you're getting all those interactions, building out the larger world of DC at the same time, because that's one of the things that I loved about those Timverse cartoons is that the world was fleshed out, all the characters, you got a sense for who each of them were, and no one just felt like they were there as background filler. And when they did that in Young Justice and specifically the Outsider seasons, sometimes there were characters that didn't really feel like they needed to be there and were just kind of taking up space.
Oh, it makes sense, yeah. 3Dub, are you there?
Yeah.
What is going on, 3Dub?
Eating.
Okay, cool enough.
Funny enough, it's cool. It's ice cream.
That's great. I wish I had ice cream now. Now you're making me want ice cream.
Like cherry ice cream. It's the best one. I'll die on that hill.
Serenity liked the later seasons 2 to 4. What is the weakest for me? Okay. So, Jay Chung says, happy Pride, y'all. Stay strong. Living your lives is fighting. Thank you so much, Jay Chung. Naruto says, the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap thing is giving me Belle Delphine. Yeah, I think Belle Delphine was the first one to do something like that online.
Yeah. Yes,
I can remember. So that was good, but there was also some weird stuff going on in season 3 as well. So
yeah.
Cody says the thing with 3 and 4 is they didn't have choice, so they could practically do anything. Oh, that makes sense then. That would
yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's see what the chat said about the soap here. Hold on.
Because I think even McDonald's got in on some of that Young Justice action whenever the first few seasons were out.
So in the poll, what do we get here? 82% said no, but 17% said yes.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to say it.
All right, y'all go over and buy some of that soap right now. Head on over there and get it.
That site's about to get a splurge in popularity, I feel like. It doesn't already have that.
That's funny. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to figure out what I'm saving for Darren, because I know Darren wanted to look at trailers.
You said today, I'm guessing whenever Darren's here, was today going to be...
the 90 shows, what we're going to do.
Was today the 90 shows? I can remember if it was that one or if it was the 5 non-Marvel and DC superhero movies.
We can do both. If we have time, we can do both of them.
All right.
But I do want to do 90 shows first because I have that list in front of me right now. So.
All right. I've got that one somewhere. Just let me find it.
Oh, we had the Superman popcorn bucket drink cups and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. The attachment to the cape is really cool.
I like it. I also think it's going to be hard to drink, though. Because, how are you going to get your hand around the cup?
Yeah. I really expected the popcorn bucket to be something involving crypto.
There's no crypto on this.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising because I thought it would be, I thought Hasbro would look at the opportunity to market the hell out of crypto just like they did with Groot back in the Guardians days.
Wow.
But apparently not.
So it's really interesting. The one side of the bucket is because I guess that's two sides of the same bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So one side is the live action and the other side is a comic book version.
What's that thing on the end?
I don't know what that is.
Is that like a lamp light? What is that?
It looks like a desk light.
Yeah, or that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said lamp light, but
I don't know. It's not super exciting. I mean, they're okay. We've seen some really cool ones recently. I actually think the drink cup is the best part of this because the cape on it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that does look fun, and I'm guessing the cape might flap up a little bit like this, so it's easier to get your hand behind it.
Yeah, it does look like it has a little lip up there on it. Let's see, what else do we have?
It honestly looks like a trash can.
Oh, it does a little bit. You're right. All right, so 3Dub's going to appreciate this next thing. Nicholas Holt said his Lex Luthor is inspired by Gene Hackman and Michael Rosenbaum.
And that's why he feels like him.
I went back and watched Gene and Michael Rosenbaum, who was the first Lex I saw growing up watching Smallville on TV. Didn't I get roasted the other day for saying that's what you reminded me of? I think some people were roasting me in the chat.
Yeah, some people did.
I got roasted for saying Gene Hackman.
But look who's right now, 3Dub. I think this is a good way to approach it. I like what I've seen of Nicholas so far. I think he's going to be an interesting one. I know some people in the chat may disagree with me, but anything's got to be an improvement from Jesse Eisenberg, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope we don't. I'm seeing the bit where he's inspired by the Gene Hackman bit. That worries me because I love Gene Hackman as an actor, but I think he was probably the worst thing about those movies. Like that gritty businessman type of villain trope, I don't. In my mind, that doesn't fit Lex Luthor. Even then, I don't think it did.
Oh, you mean from you said the Gene Hackman
yeah.
Lex Luthor?
Yeah, I don't think that gritty businessman trope fits a character like Lex Luthor. If they, I don't know if they're going to do this. I'm hoping they will, but I hope we get to see, essentially a Clancy Brown Lex characterization where he's really motivated by his detest of Kryptonians and not just, again, that gritty businessman archetype who's just out for more money.
I think that's one aspect of Gene Hackman. I think there's another side where he's a little crazy and out there, where he has a little humor to him.
Well, every version of Lex is crazy with a twisted sense of humor.
Well, yeah, but I mean more like way I see it, Michael Rosenbaum's Lex had a more serious tone to it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and Reed brings it up right there in the chat. He says, he's not a man, he's an it. That really does remind me of whenever we first saw John Cryer's Lex, because the first few episodes that he showed up as Lex, I thought he was terrific. But he kind of spiraled a little bit after that and really started to fall down. But the first interaction you see with him, where it's him and Lena saying that at least Superman is a good man, and Lex just loses it and says he's not a man. He just outright screams it, says that, something along the lines of like, I was supposed to be the man of tomorrow, not him. And he just really detested Superman and everything that he represented and all of the Kryptonians as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he was using that Red Daughter version of Supergirl, he even said, if you would have bothered to look on the internet or do any research, you would know that Lex Luthor despises Kryptonians. I was like, yeah, that is like a key Lex Luthor aspect that I feel like Hackman and Spacey and other adaptations were just kind of missing.
Let's see. What else do we have here?
And even though I really liked Cudlitz as Lex Luthor too, I feel like that rivalry with Superman didn't really get the time to develop because we didn't really get to see him in the show for that long. And
yeah, they had to rush through it, and it started out as a rivalry with Lois.
It was mainly just a rivalry with Lois and not so much Superman until like the last 3 episodes.
Let's see here. All right, let's go through some Peacemaker stuff, things that we know about Peacemaker, because there's a lot of interesting stuff in this thread that I was like, all right, we should talk about this. First of all, I want to say this suit design is wild.
It looks like Blue Wheel.
I like this one better.
It kind of reminds me of, for anybody who's a Pokemon fan, it made me think of Lucario.
I like this one better than this one. I don't know why. I just prefer this one more.
What's his name?
The who?
The guy, the guy in the picture.
The actor? I don't know. What's the actor?
No. The hero. Oh well, villain name. Hero villain name.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about the character.
Yeah, the character. What's the character?
I don't remember his dad's actual name, but the character's name I think is White Dragon, right?
Yeah, White Dragon.
Sounds like a Power Ranger ripoff.
I don't like chat. Which one is better? Suit 1, Suit 2, Suit Red, Suit Blue. Yes, I'm Dr. Seuss.
1 suit, 2 suit, red
Suit
suit.
A, Suit B, Suit Red.
Hey, it's kind of like Superman in the 90s, suit red and suit blue.
Oh, that's true.
I wonder if he has like a closet full of suits in different colors.
Well, no, this is the other version from the other Earth.
Oh,
it's a multiversal thing.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I like the red one better. Anyway, let's go through this thread. Peacemaker's alternate self has a different suit with new details. We already kind of knew that. But it includes a jetpack, inverted dove of peace, and different colors. And so, obviously, this is from shots from the trailer here. What are we thinking?
I don't really have much thoughts on this one.
Not guns out, suns out, guns out on the sleeves there, I guess.
I don't know. Like I said before, I didn't really connect much with the first season, so I don't look at the stuff from the second season and be like, oh, yes, or I'm just in a complete wait-and-see mindset on this one.
Yeah. So, okay. So, are they doing the multiverse? This is how they're going to explain the changes to the DCEU and the DCU. What is that noise?
I don't know.
Did you hear it? Was it just me?
It's coming from his, I think.
Oh, it's 3Dub. 3Dub, what are you driving in a car? That was loud.
But no, I've said multiple times that perfect bridge between universes. Try to overpower whatever that sound is. I think the perfect bridge between universes would have been just say, like at the end of the Flash movie, once the timeline changes again, if it would have just ended with a montage of the Flash running, he doesn't turn, we don't see a face of a new actor, they just get like a random stuntman in the suit or something. He's taking off, and then that is essentially your bridge into that new universe, instead of having to do it in a TV show that, people going into your, again, like we said with Creature Commandos, going into your movies, a lot of people won't see them. So unless there's a way to explain it away in a big budget movie, it has the potential to create some disconnect.
Yeah, and I also think this is how they're going to explain the multiversal stuff, and they're going to ignore it in the Superman movie. Because Creature Commandos didn't...
This
really
comes out a month after Superman.
Yeah, but I think they're going to explain how these characters from Peacemaker exist in the DCU. And they're not going to address that in Superman.
Yeah.
So here's my issue with this. This is why keeping some things and getting rid of other ones was a bad idea.
Yeah. If you were going to reboot, you should have rebooted everything. Hard reboot.
I feel like this is just baggage. It's just baggage. It sucks. Because I liked Peacemaker season 1. I thought it was fun. Was it the greatest show I've ever watched? No. But I thought it was a fun season. I realize it's not everybody's cup of tea. But this and the other things that James Gunn did, even though they were really good in the DCEU, they're still connected to the DCEU. So as long as these characters are brought over into the DCU, we're still dealing with that baggage, just like we were in the Flash movie. Even if the Flash movie would have been like a soft reboot, it would have still been a reboot with existing characters coming over. Because now you're telling me that you could have brought over anybody. You could have brought over Wonder Woman, you could have brought over Batman, you could have brought over Superman, you could have brought anybody over.
Yeah. And a lot of people already weren't happy with the fact that the people that Gunn was bringing over were the people pretty much exclusively from his projects.
Right. So it's crazy. I wanted a clean break. I will stand by that. Yeah. I don't mind. Look, I wanted to see how we were going to get from like universe A to universe B. I wanted to see how that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Already it's looking very clunky to me.
Yeah. Because there's stuff from universe A that's left over that they're playing fast and loose with.
Here we go. So alternate Peacemaker's bike, also an Argus logo, which means that he's working for Argus in this universe. So there's an Argus in the DCU already, which is fine, whatever. Argus is the Black Ops department responsible for Task Force X, the Suicide Squad. Says here, according to James Gunn, OG Peacemaker from season 1 is already in the DCU because he interviews with the Justice Gang in episode 1. The alternate Peacemaker is discovered in the pocket dimension. So now we have to figure out if our Peacemaker is the one in the DCEU that moved over, or is this other one from the DCEU who comes after him in the DCU? I hope it's not that confusing. I want it to be very, like, I'm good with, like, wrapping my mind around crazy shit. I'm good with that. But this sounds very much overly complicated so far.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't just end up being something as simple as you see where this alternate Peacemaker comes from. That is the DCU, and the alternate Peacemaker, just say he gets stranded in the now amalgamation of DCEU and Schumacherverse, whatever the hell it is at this point. And then we have our Peacemaker that's in this new DCU that they're doing now.
Yeah. Here we go. So another shot of them here together. Oh, my mouse is stuck under my keyboard here. There we go. What do we think about this helmet over here? The one on the alternate Peacemaker.
I don't love it. Don't hate it.
All right. This probably means the DCU Peacemaker is technically a new character on a new timeline, but has the same backstory as the DCEU Peacemaker. A bit like Flashpoint, new timeline with some retcons and some not. This could be wrong. Feel free to speculate. I don't even know. I have no idea. If you're going to introduce us to a new Peacemaker, why even connect it to the previous season anyway?
Right. I mean, like if you were going to still use Peacemaker in this new thing, I would have not called this Peacemaker season 2. I would have done like a soft rebrand like they did with Daredevil. Like, just if you're going to use that character, fine, but marketing wise, like, have it be its own thing, so that way it would be a little less confusing.
Yeah. I don't know. I love Elseworld stuff. I love multiverse stuff. Not so much time travel. I actually prefer multiversal stuff.
Yeah.
But this feels to me like I'm going to be honest, I'm not a James Gunn shill. I'm also not somebody that just hates James Gunn to hate James Gunn. I think he's really good at what he does, but this feels to me like this was something that James Gunn couldn't let go of. This was one of those things where it probably would have been best to let go of it for a clean cut, but he didn't want to because of all the people that he's worked with on the previous season. So he wanted to keep it going. And this is his way of doing that as the head of DC Studios.
I mean, I don't think people... So here's a thing to pose, too. Say they were going for, like, completely new story threads. Do you think people would have been accepting to some of those actors returning in those roles if it was very clear that they weren't going to be carrying over plot beats and story beats? Do you think people would have been more accepting of certain characters remaining or certain actors remaining in the roles then?
Okay, I think they should have gone back and removed the scene with him talking to the Justice League and just pretended that this was always in the DCU.
Yeah, because me and Darren have talked about this. Like, it would be pretty funny if, say, like 2 or 3 years down the road, whenever we have our Arthur Curry and our Barry Allen, whoever they are, if someone over at DC goes back and just retroactively changes that scene in like streaming services, whatever, so now that scene contains, your new Flash and your new Aquaman.
Yeah.
Because I believe, if I'm not wrong, they were the only ones that were visibly shown, like the actors were there.
Yeah. Let's see. OG Peacemaker's dad, the White Dragon, is alive in the alternate universe. OG Peacemaker will probably discover him through the same pocket dimension he finds the alternate Peacemaker. More confusing stuff, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, it just makes me think with like all the different times they've done like a Crisis reboot and stuff in the past, how they use that as their opportunity to go clean slate with a bunch of story beats and, make things different, make things a little bit the same, but add new changes in there and then just overhaul some things completely. So doing that on its own isn't like completely unheard of. It's all about how you execute it.
Right.
I've got the timer still going, by the way, on that. I didn't know why you checked your watch or not.
Yeah, no. There's somebody at my door.
Oh, you're looking at a camera. Okay.
Yeah. I have to go check my door very quickly, so I will be right back. But Jake and 3Dub, feel free to have a chat till I get back.
So yeah, anybody in the chat, I've voiced my stuff on this before, how I'm not the biggest fan of Peacemaker, and I've said I acknowledge the show is well made. It's competently put together from a filmmaking perspective, as somebody who went to film school, went and got that degree. From a productive standpoint, and I know this isn't a film, it's a TV show, but from a production standpoint, I acknowledge that it's very well put together. I'm just not a fan of the character. Those of you who are fans of that character, any particular things in this season you're looking forward to? Curious, throw those out there. Just ask that in Eric's stead while he's gone for a moment. And if you feel like chiming in on that, then you can.
I never saw the first season.
I mean, yeah, I again, I acknowledge it's well put together. it wasn't for me. I did find it a little funny though. I will say, I can't remember what episode it was. I just remember this clip very vividly where Peacemaker essentially makes fun of Batman for his quote unquote, no killing rule, and all of his enemies come back and just kill more people, blah blah blah. That doesn't really fit the DCEU Batman when you think about it, because he was a murderer for a while. So that Batman, is somebody that Peacemaker probably would have approved of. So I did find that to be a little odd. I can barely hear Eric's music in the background. Oh, it's because my headphones weren't up all the way. Batmite was in the show? I don't remember that. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't, I just don't remember it. Then again, I think I don't even remember if I finished Peacemaker. I started watching it close to when it came out. Maybe I finished it, maybe I didn't, but I never did like a repeat watch. Peacemaker could have continued as a standalone TV series separate from DCU, but not even just knowledge about the Snyder DCU. Well, that's something that most of the DC projects past Snyder did, and like that's one of the reasons why Blue Beetle is kind of able to what's the word I'm looking for? How they're able to just retroactively put it into the new DCU, because like there wasn't anything that directly tied it to that past DCEU era. You never saw people like Gal Gadot or Jason Momoa pop up as their characters. So they're able to just put it in there easily. Whereas, with things like the Shazam movies, granted, you never saw an actor's face in the first one because they couldn't get Henry Cavill to come in for a day and shoot because he was so pissed off with DC at that point. But having Gal Gadot show up in the second film kind of made it to where they couldn't do that, and based on the financial failure of the second Shazam, I don't think they're eager to bring that character in soon anyway.
Nope.
I like the first Shazam, I really do, and because they basically took, for anybody who's seen the movie Big with Tom Hanks, they basically took that concept and turned it into a superhero movie. And then it goes to where the lead of your first movie is arguably the worst thing about the second film, which is pretty sad when you think about it.
It was my cat outside the door.
How did your cat get outside?
I don't know, but I had to go get her. She was in the backyard. Now I'm worried because that other cat is out there, so I brought her in. So we'll see.
Uh-oh.
Open the window here.
Yeah, Reed, I think that's... I think they're going to do that. I think Gunn all but confirmed that was happening.
You shouldn't be outside, Cat. She seems okay. I don't think anything happened. So
she kind of looks like the cat that my aunt had for the longest time, like all black but had white paws. So they called her Socks because of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of reminded me of that same cat.
Before we get through this, I think we had a member sign up and a super chat.
We did have one super chat, yeah. I responded to it a little bit, but obviously I can't bring it up.
Now she wants to go outside of the...
Yeah, there is one member.
You're being crazy, Cat.
Yeah, I do not live with cats anymore. I have not since I was 20. I think since I was 20. Yeah, that was the last time I lived with cats.
So 5 years ago.
Oh my God, yeah. She's driving me up the wall.
Yeah, not quite. A little more than 5. Little more than 5.
What's going on?
I said the last time I lived with cats was when I was 20, And, you know, he was like, oh, so 5 years ago? I said, oh, a little more than 5. A little more than that.
All right. So, all right. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Now, she can't get back out, so that's good. All right. So let's look over here. We had a new member. Shout out to Stone to the Bone, who became a member of the channel. Thank you so much. Make sure you check all the perks.
Speaking of me when I was 20, I'm kidding.
Check out all the perks. You get member badges, bonuses. You get, like, I think it's 1 super chat a month if you're a team member, as well as content that's available for team members only. So thank you so much. And this was the one that you said you talked about. We didn't bring up on screen. Cycle forward the $4.99 super chat says Peacemaker probably could have continued as a standalone DC show, separate from the DCU, but not giving much acknowledgement to the Snyder DCU. I agree with that. Make it an Elseworld show.
So, like I've said, most of the stuff that came out after Snyder's projects, or like in between those projects, they were pretty isolated from those. Blue Beetle didn't show any of that stuff at all, which is why they were easily able to, why they're easily able to retroactively place it into this new continuity. First Shazam didn't do it. Like, they talked about those characters, but you never saw faces, especially since, like I said, Henry Cavill was so pissed off at DC at that point that they couldn't get him to show up for a day to come shoot in the costume. So the first Shazam was completely free of that, and then the second film kind of chopped it by having Gal Gadot appear.
Right.
But
They cut off Superman's head at the neck. Like, he did show up like split second, but like they purposely cut him off at the head because it wasn't Henry Cavill.
That's what I just said.
I thought you said they avoided like Superman entirely.
No, they had him there, but they didn't show his face because it wasn't Cavill, because he was already pissed off that he was done with them.
We have Peacemaker's brother is also alive in this other universe. It appears that the character is an adult Keith Smith who never died as a child in the alternate universe. Who is Peacemaker's brother in the comic? I'm not familiar with that character.
That blurry picture on the right kind of reminds me of the John Henry Irons steel suit from Superman and Lois.
Oh, yeah. Who was that character? Hold on. Let me see. I'm not familiar with that character.
Peacemaker's brother is Craig Lancaster. That's the comics White Dragon. Because his dad was the White Dragon in the show, but it's his brother in comics.
Yeah, but that costume is different, though. He's going to have a different name, like a different mantle on the show? Because there's a picture. Hold on, there was another picture here.
Potentially.
Where's it at? Right here. It shows the suit, his brother's suit. Who is that supposed to be?
I'm not sure.
Also, it's weird. The White Dragon picture in this artwork from the set has a white mask instead of blue one. But the picture we saw, the mask was blue.
Was that a blue mask in the picture?
Yeah, it was in that photo, yeah.
Huh.
And if you look next to him, that Peacemaker is the one we see attacking our Peacemaker. Which means that pretty much confirms that this is the DCU universe.
Yeah.
And that our Peacemaker's from the DCEU, which people are trying to say that maybe there was a switcheroo somewhere. No, I think it's going to be super simple. What I think is going to happen is this Peacemaker from the DCU, we're going to meet him in the show. He's going to get in a fight with our Peacemaker and get killed. Then our Peacemaker is going to steal his life in the DCU.
Yeah, I think we were talking something similar about that a little while ago. That's an easy way for them to get around that.
Yeah.
Because then it's not as though he'll have to be a POV character for the new universe either, because it's not like he was around for the longest time, and we can just go into this new universe without any pretext.
Mm-hmm. The only issue is that if he brings over any of those other characters, which I'm assuming he probably will, like some of his friends from the previous universe, if any of them come over, even one of them, that means we have characters from the DCEU who have a memory of that world. That's my issue with this.
Here's where your complications arise.
That's where my issue is with this. So, All right. The 11th Street Kids will face challenges. Their jobs are under threat because Adebayo exposes Waller. Peacemaker is in love with Amelia Harcourt, and they want to be recognized as heroes, but they are still outcast. Okay. Fair enough. The band Foxy Shazam played a private show on the set of Peacemaker. Their songs included Oh Lord, which are featured heavily in season 2, including the recent trailers. All right. Oh, this is interesting. A new creature appears. It looks like there might be a white Martian or a green Martian in Peacemaker.
Well, that definitely looks more green, but the artwork looked white.
Yeah, I think they were just using this as a reference right here. How do we feel about Peacemaker introducing the Martians?
Kind of indifferent.
Yeah.
I mean, is that how I would expect that, the Martians to be introduced? No, you would typically expect that to be through a character like John Jones, but that could be what introduces the Martians to, the people lower than your Justice League characters, like the thing that introduces the Martians to the public in the world.
I think it's interesting it's a practical suit.
Yeah.
Because they could have easily just used VFX to do this.
Yeah. And since this is a big budget, it's not going to have the Supergirl problem where your Martian characters either need to be absent or take a human form for 90% of their appearance.
Though, looking at this, it almost looks like this is a suit that's supposed to be a suit. Like, look at the crotch where it folds and around the ankles.
Yeah.
It almost looks like this isn't... We're going to think that this is a real white Martian or green Martian. It's just going to be somebody wearing a suit.
You think this is just like...
Like, actually a person wearing a suit.
Yeah. Potentially.
I wonder if that's what it is. Not sure. But, all right. Let's continue. Rick Flag Sr. will play a big role, including have a major fight with Peacemaker because he killed his son.
Oh, yeah.
So, wait a minute. In the DCU, Peacemaker also killed Rick Flag? Or is this still DCEU? I'm confused now. So, in this world, the same thing happened? Peacemaker killed Rick Flag Jr.?
I guess that's what they're saying.
I mean, what a fucked up situation. You come into a new Earth and you find out that your counterpart killed the same person.
Yeah, it's like you thought you would have got away with that, but nope.
Oh, it's just destroy the thread. Peacemaker's panel. It's all the stuff here.
Yeah, somebody brought up in the chat, they said it's a fixed point.
I guess. How fucked up is that, though? You come all the way over to this new universe where it's like a clean slate because a version of yourself was a better version in that universe, and you find out they still murdered somebody, and in this universe, the father is alive and coming after you. That's crazy.
I mean, that's quite a rap sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Creature Commander said Rick Flag Jr. died. Yeah, but I was wondering if it was going to be if it was still going to be Peacemaker. So wait a minute.
I thought this was already...
Does that mean the Suicide Squad movie is the DCU?
No. I don't believe that's what it means. I mean,
I'm so confused.
Like, similar events might have happened, but in different ways. But no, that in movie, I wouldn't consider that DCU.
Be funny if it like a face that looks like Nathan Fillion just dies.
Zeke says the pocket dimension isn't the DCEU. Well, I mean, it has to be similar enough that they had to differentiate it because they could have just left it the way it was, right? I mean, if it's not the DCEU, then why even change it? Just make it part of the DCU. Because it's got the same Justice League members. We saw them in the end of the season.
Like we said, the easy solve would have just been to detach from all of this and start fresh.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's drop this down, and we're going to reset topics. Let's see where we're at.
Like James Gunn should have.
Yes, absolutely. We are 3 out of 10 super chats with 38 minutes left, you guys. It is only teal and higher. So, or light blue, actually. Light blue super chats are higher. So we just need 7 more of those, and we'll be able to let you guys select another goal. Matter of fact, before we jump into the next topic, do we want to do our favorite 90s shows now? Want to do that first?
Are we waiting for Darren on that one?
I would like to say yes, but I feel like that's becoming more like maybe he's not going to come over.
Well, he's active right now. I can send him a message right quick.
No, I think he's on another. I think he's in another stream. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Let me double check. I don't want to do it without him, but anyway, let's see. No, I guess they're not live anymore, so I don't know. All right, let's see. All right, we'll wait on that. I can pick out something else. Let's talk about the Andor stuff. Not the show, but just what the drama is around Andor. I have the tweet saved, I believe. Where's it at here? Maybe I don't have it. Maybe I lied. All right.
I just sent him a message, so if he pops up, he pops up.
All right.
What's this backtrack called, by the way?
It's just background music. I don't think it has a name.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it from royalty free. It was a royalty free channel.
Okay. I get a lot of my news from Looper Man.
Oh, really? I don't think it was from that though. I think it was from something else. I think it was from Stream Beats, I believe, where it came from.
Okay. I don't know if I've used that one before.
All right. So
there's another one.
Another what?
You just got another super chat.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll look at that in a second. Let's read this out, though, and give our thoughts on this. Thank you, Cameron. I see it. Appreciate it. Closer and closer to the goal. Tony Gilroy, who was the writer and showrunner for Andor, reveals that the budget for Andor was $650 million, and that he had to fight for season 2 after Disney told him streaming is dead.
One, that budget is insane. 2, okay, I'm still stuck on that budget point, but why do you need that's blockbuster high budget movie levels?
Multiple movies.
Yeah. You need that for a season of TV?
Well, isn't every 3 years like a year? Every 3 episodes a year?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't even know if that would have anything to do with the budget, though.
Because it would be 3 episodes would be a movie, so I think it would be 200.
Well, to put in perspective, the first season cost $250 million.
Wow.
So this was what, 4 times as much as that?
Yeah.
Well, 3 point something. But
and it's not like they pulled a Stranger Things and made 2-hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think what a lot of the hate channels are latching onto is the streaming is dead comment from Tony here.
That's not necessarily true.
We don't really know. Darren asked if there was a link. I thought I linked it in there. I don't know.
And this is coming from somebody who likes Andor, by the way. I actually enjoyed it.
Say that again. Say it again.
I said this is coming from somebody who likes Andor.
No. Before you said that.
Oh, so like if I sound like I'm being critical of it, I like the show, so I'm not just hating on it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think it's a great show. I absolutely love the show.
Yeah.
But look, we'll talk about the 650 million in a second. I want to get into the streaming is dead comment from Tony here. So I don't think streaming is dead. I think the way stuff is marketed in the world of streaming is what the problem is. That's what I think. I think that there's a disconnect between the studios, the creators, the audience, and it's not a one size fits all formula for streaming. We have a Darren in the house.
Hello.
Has arrived. You've been streaming all night, Darren. So weren't you in like multiple streams tonight?
I did a filming for Lance, and then I just did a 2-hour stream, and now I'm here.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're not going to be live for another 2 hours, so don't worry about that.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
That's right. Shout out to Darren, his 20th birthday.
23rd, but thank you. But you know what? I'll take 20. 20 actually sounds good.
Okay.
Darren's like, you know what?
21.
Darren's like, you know what? I'm at the point in my life where that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Also, Eric, by the way,
yeah.
The timer just went off for that poll.
Okay, well, we will put the poll up when we reach 50%. That's my next goal. If we've already reached the super chat goal, I will go ahead and do it at that point. But we are only 4 out of 10. So I will make the poll when we reach 5 out of 10, because that gives me an idea that we might actually reach the 10 out of 10.
Okay.
But thank you for keeping track of that.
No problem.
That's my typical thing, is that I'll put the poll up if we've already reached it at that point or we're close. But since we're not even at halfway, which is fine. If we get there, we get there. But that's just my little personal goal there. People giving you birthday shout outs in there. Look at that in the chat.
Thank you.
So Darren, is this crazy or what? So $650 million budget for a season of TV, and Disney told him that streaming is dead. Have you talked about this at all anywhere else tonight, or?
No, yeah, it is crazy. I mean, me and Taz have talked, like, Taz has gone into great detail over my thing on how ridiculous he thinks it is, how expensive the show was, and he is right. You know, I think this is one of those shows that was caught in that COVID kind of, roundup. Like, they had to pause filming, you got some big actors involved. I don't agree with the streaming is dead thing. That's definitely, I don't think, is accurate depiction, especially Disney Plus. It seems like they're doing better than they ever have before. But I think spending this much on TV shows on streaming is dead.
That's true.
That's part, like, I think especially Bob Iger coming back in, and I think he probably looked at what they were spending on TV, and they're like, have you lost your goddamn mind?
Can I tell you what I think the issue is here?
Yeah.
I think we need something like the CW, where you can have shows that don't cost a ton of money to make. You can make 16 to 20 episodes a season.
Yep.
And then you can sell them to streaming services for $1 billion.
Yep.
Because that, I think, is the formula they need. Because I guess they didn't.
And you're able to get the seasons out on a recurring schedule.
Yes.
Well, like, I think I mentioned this previously, but I feel like that's kind of what the children networks are doing right now. They are making shows for their Cartoon Network, they're making shows for Disney Channel, but they coincide with their streaming service. They're going on Disney Plus the following day, and I think that's very smart, because you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to have these hugely big budgets. You can make shows for your streaming service, and then you can also benefit from the extra network. And again, that did so well on, like, Netflix. Like, all those Arrowverse shows every single year for like almost 10 years were the, like, top of the, like, streaming charts year after year after year. And I we saw the same thing with, like, stuff like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that, where it's like, it didn't necessarily get the like highest rating numbers, but they had a dedicated fan base because it was year after year after year. And then they could go on, I don't remember if it was ever streaming on Netflix, but, like, they would go and watch it elsewhere once the season was
It was at one
wrapped up.
point. Yeah.
It was? Okay.
Yeah. At one point, yes.
I don't think they can make this back with their DVD sales either. Like,
I don't. They don't do DVD
I don't
sales
think that's the
typically.
thing about streaming is in order for streaming to hold value, you can't sell DVDs or Blu-rays.
Yep.
Yeah. Which
Even
really
though
sucks.
even though like those are getting less and less of a presence as the years go by.
Yeah.
For me, I can't comprehend that it makes money not like basically not like a theater like movie where I can never understand how basically if to me it feels like they're wasting money.
Okay, so let me put this in perspective. Go back 10 years, right? 10 years. What was your favorite show 10 years ago? If you had to pick one, just pick a show from 10 years ago.
Smallville.
Okay, Smallville. Darren, anything?
I'll say Flash. Just
Flash.
to
Okay.
be, yeah.
Jake, anything 10 years ago? So we're talking like 2013, 2014, 2015, around that era.
That'll be the Flash then.
Okay.
I'll say, wait, are you just talking CW or just period?
Anything. What were you watching back then?
That's when Daredevil started, so I'll go with that
Okay.
one.
So you're watching Daredevil on Netflix. That's a really good one to pick out, right?
Yeah.
So you had Daredevil on demand anytime you wanted to watch it over and over and over again on Netflix.
Yep, and they released the
Flash,
episodes in bunches.
Yes. Flash was you watch it when it aired and then you never got to watch it again.
Yeah.
Until they put it out on their streaming service, which eventually came out years later. Or Netflix, which came out whenever Netflix finally got access to it.
Yeah, they
That
would
means
put that season on Netflix like when the next one started.
Right. So that means there's a gap in time between the time it's on TV and the time it went to streaming where Blu-rays and DVDs would gain value in sales because that's essentially the same thing as having it on a demand streaming service. Shows like this serve no purpose to be on Blu-ray and DVD, unfortunately, because they want you to stay subscribed so you can watch it when you want to watch it.
Yeah.
That's how they keep you locked into it. So it's an unfortunate reality that these streaming shows very rarely, unless it's like a special edition or something, get a component of physical media that comes with it.
Yeah. And that's such a scary reality to live in because at any point in time they could pull the plug and be like, well, you can't find that no more because it's no longer, what was it, Runaways with like Hulu, right?
Yeah,
It's
and it was
gone.
only there. It was only there for the
You
longest
can't,
time.
it's very hard to watch Runaways now. That, that's a piece of Marvel's history where like, yes, you can find other means of it elsewhere, right? But like, you can't actively, buy DVDs. You can't find it on streaming services. Right. It's like, it's just gone. Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah. And like, because of that, and I think this has only gotten more true, like as time has gone on, but I have always been a stickler for physical media preservation, of having access to all that stuff, because, as I say quite often, nobody can take a disc and a DVD player from you. Like, say, on the day that streaming, God forbid, goes up in flames and doesn't work and everything's down. You have a disc and a working player. No one can take that from you.
Well, a good example of this is we had a situation, I know it's kind of off topic, but about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, where there was a period of time where they were coming through and doing upgrades to the internet in my neighborhood. And they told us we might not have internet for like 24 hours, right? So I had to go pull out Blu-rays and DVDs of stuff that we loved just in case that happened. And like, I was like, we'll watch these and download stuff into like Netflix and YouTube and things like that. Bank it in there so that way it's available, downloaded to the app. So that way we could watch it even when we were offline, because that's the world we live in. Like literally that's how it is. Our lights, everything in my house is controlled by the internet. I had to go through and make sure everything was disconnected for that day just so I could do that.
The internet controls basically everything now, like hospitals, like vehicles, equipment, like things like that, bank accounts. All of it is in the internet.
When I go to DJ now, this is the crazy thing. Years ago, I had to take boxes and crates of records or CDs with me to my gigs because I had to have my music. Now, this year, well, actually it was last year, started last year, but between last year and this year, it's the first time in my entire career where I have literally been using a streaming platform to play my music through my equipment. And it's scary because there's been times where the internet goes out at a club or something, and I don't have access to anything. I don't have any access. So I have a flash drive with files on it that I carry as a backup. But like when I'm running shows for people, like backup music and stuff, all of that is on streaming. It's all done through streaming. There's a company that I pay like $100 and some every 3 months, and they have a full library for me to download stuff on, but it's only for streaming. Like I can't download it and save it. So that's kind of
That sucks.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah, Reed, you need a phone for everything now. Absolutely true. I want to point out also, this is one of the stories that I had listed on the topics here on the channel, is that there's massive layoffs at Disney. So several hundred employees are being laid off globally. The affected divisions are primarily the entertainment division, marketing teams for film and TV, as well as departments such as publicity, casting, development, corporate finance. While the layoffs are global, a significant number are centralized in the U.S., particularly in L.A. No entire teams are being eliminated. The cuts are spread across various departments. Now, they're saying the reason why they're doing this is they're grappling with the decline of traditional television viewership as audiences increasingly shift to streaming platforms. Surprise, surprise. They said streaming's dead, but the vast majority of people are shifting to a streaming platform. This trend has led to decreased revenue from traditional TV, prompting the company to restructure its operations to focus more on digital and streaming services. Now, Darren, you talked about this a minute ago. Things like the Disney Channel and stuff, like they're not pulling in numbers like they did before, because you can just go on Disney Plus now and put that on. You set your kids down in front of TV, you put it on like the kids portion of Disney Plus, and you just let it play. You don't ever have to turn on Disney Channel, at all.
And I think they've actually kind of done something kind of interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to follow suit. They've just turned Disney Plus into live televisions, and now you can be like, oh, here's a kids channel, here's Simpsons, here's National.
We're seeing like live TV morph into streaming. Like that's essentially what's happening.
And these bundles are almost paying you. They're charging you almost as much as cable did back then. The only difference is you take what you watch.
It's crazy. So I sat down the other day and I thought, let me do a budget of like all the streaming stuff that I have, because I have a bunch of them. So first and foremost, if you have Hulu, Disney, and HBO, just bundle them together. It's much, much cheaper. Just put them in a bundle for like $25 for all three of them. It's literally cheaper. That's my first suggestion. But there's a lot of smaller ones that I have, the cheaper ones like Peacock and Paramount and stuff like that. They're smaller. You can get them with ad-supported tiers. But Tubi and the Roku channel are all ad-supported, and they have tons of content on there for absolutely free. You just have to watch ads when you watch it.
And that's that just tells you things like YouTube Shorts and TikTok have really destroyed people's attention spans, because commercial pops up, people start picking up their pitchforks, going, where's my content? I want it now. Insert.
But think about this.
Here, it's like
the commercials being present on that stuff that's been platformed on those streaming services is essentially the way it was intended to be viewed. Like if you go back and you watch Flash or Arrow or any of these old shows, they're set up in a 5-piece segment to go over an hour with ads in the middle. That's the way they're designed. That's the way they're it's like 4 to 5 acts per episode.
That's why, if you would look at it on like, your guides back in the day, whenever you would push the guide button to look what was going on channels, that's why there would be an hour, because there would be, like 5 or 6 commercial breaks within the episode, and then that's how they're broken up. And if you look at things on like the CW app, they're broken up the same way. Which I actually don't know what that app's like anymore, because after Superman and Lois ended, I got rid of that.
I did too. It was gone. I actually took CW. I unsubscribed from everything CW.
I said, I went on record saying like after that show ended, I was going to get rid of it, because that was the last thing I was keeping it there for.
Well, we're going to talk about CW in 1 second. I just have one more thing here to say. So despite the layoffs that Disney is having, despite all of this, the shocker is Disney has recently achieved profitability. The company's latest earnings report exceed Wall Street's expectations, exceed them, with Disney Plus and theme parks contributing positively. Remember, the theme parks are also a thing for Disney.
Yep.
Following the report, Disney stock rose by 21%, $112.62 on the day layoffs were reported. So Disney is not struggling. I know this is going to be one of those things that people kind of put out there and say, oh, well, Disney is dead and blah, blah, blah. It's not. Look, companies do this kind of shit all the time. It's nothing new. They go through and they try to shift and move things around. A lot of these people will get
losses are like chump change to them.
Yeah. Sorry. A lot of these people get laid off and they'll just end up working in another division. That's just really what happens.
And there's no conflict of interest either.
Yeah, 100%. So let me remove that there. We got a super chat here from Cameron. $2 super chats. Thank you so much. Otis, who is Lex Henchman, is in Peacemaker Season 2. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Do we know who the actor is?
I think it was revealed.
I remember hearing about this.
I'll be right back.
All right. Let me see. Let's see. Terrence Rosemore? The actor? I just looked it up. It doesn't say anything. But was that like recently announced who the actor was?
I hadn't seen it. I couldn't say for sure.
Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, Jonathan, I did see that Luke Cage. Apparently, Mike Coulter posted a Luke Cage poster on his Instagram.
Yep.
I mean, look, guys, they're all coming back. Like Daredevil Born Again Season 2, like, we're going to get the Defenders back. Pretty much all of them are going to come back. We're just waiting to see what happens with Iron Fist.
Sorry, I thought I heard something fall in my kitchen. That's why I walked away.
Yeah. I don't mind Otis. I think Otis is a interesting choice. We'll see how it goes. Even Elektra will be back at this point. I mean, she could. People can come back to life.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
I mean, do we think the Iron Fist is going to be Danny, or is it going to be the other one?
Well, technically, it's been, like, canonically, it's been enough time between the seasons that they could have him back with powers if they wanted.
Yeah. I wish that show was better because I really liked, the whole concept of the exploration of all the Kunlun stuff. I do love that side of the Marvel Universe, and
yeah,
I just wish it was better explored. So I found my my list, by the way. I was looking through for that 90s list. I found mine, so I'm good to go on that.
All right, so in order to make sure that we get through all of it and we're not live for like a million years, we're going to watch some Netflix trailers in just a moment. Before we do that, though, we're going to do the 90s list, and then we'll see what time looks like for the other list when we get done with the Netflix trailers.
And so you said, speaking of CW, was there a topic you were going to
go into? Yeah, I was going to mention that All American got greenlit for a final season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not too shocked it's the final season, to be honest, but...
I only got like a season and a half into that before dropping it. Is it worth picking back up?
I didn't care for it, but it did have a pretty big like fan following.
Yeah.
Were you watching it, Darren? All American?
I hadn't seen any of it, but it is bittersweet because that's the last CW show of our era of the proper, of scripted TV shows. And I do remember at the time when it was the first trailer came out, I remember watching that and being like, that's getting canceled after a season. Like on a studio that was covered with superhero shows and supernatural shows and crazy stuff like Riverdale. I was like, that's not going to do well on this network. And it went on to be, won't this be season 9? Season 8?
Season 8 or 9, I believe. We're around there.
That's
crazy.
Crazy. It went as long as a Flash.
Yeah.
It did more than most of the Arrowverse shows. That is insane.
I mean, it's rare for these days. It's rare for shows these days to make it past 3 seasons.
I didn't have Karate Kid listed, Mario, as a topic, but we can talk about the. I did have one little thing bookmarked because I know that I was actually going to wait and see if Lance was going to show up, but he's not even been in the chat tonight, so I'm assuming he's asleep. All right, so let's go through and do a quick top 5 90 shows because you guys voted for it in the chat. By the way, I'm going to do this now while we have time. We have 13 minutes left to get 6 super chats at light blue or higher. So if you guys are feeling generous, that's fine. Again, there's, as always, no pressure, but this will be the first time or the second time ever that we have not reached a goal during a stream. Just want you guys to know that out there. So just
That's
putting it
pressure.
out there.
Take the hint.
No
Kidding.
pressure. No pressure. Anyway, all right. So we'll start with me, and if I have the same one that you guys have, you can just take it off your list. You don't have to add something new. Just subtract it from your top 5 and say that that was on my list as well.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my number 1, in no particular order, but it's the number 1 that I wrote down. From 1992 to 1995, Batman the Animated Series.
Ah.
That was on my list. And I think this was a gold standard for superhero animation, in my opinion, especially in that era. Distinct art style. It had mature plots, and I think all the voice acting was really solid. So I really love that show. And I think it's very rewatchable. You can watch the whole series from start to finish over and over and over again, in my opinion. So that's my number 1. What about you? We're going to go clockwise. So, Jake, you are next. Did you have that on your list? And if you did you have to take it off now?
So it was higher on my list. I'm going like a 5-1 for mine.
Okay.
It was a little higher, so I won't like repeat a lot of the same stuff, but I do agree. Stellar art style, very mature storytelling, that mature in the way that it didn't feel off-putting for a kid's show. Again, great voice work through and through. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy and Arlene Sorkin. Those two were great. The whole cast across the board was great. Loved that. I can inserts. I did have like some honorable mentions in place in case some of mine got
okay. Well, that's fine. Then you don't have to do that. So what is your number 5 then if you're going backwards?
So my number 5, going from 5 being my least of these.
I don't know. See, I didn't rank mine at levels of how much I love them. I just picked my 5 favorite. So you can do it however you want.
So yeah, I did mine as like 5 is the one of these that I like the least, whereas 1 is the one I like the most.
Then you can do it that way if you want.
At number 5, from 1997 to 2003, I have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. See, that's payback. I got one of yours, you got one of mine.
That was the second one I wrote down. So,
but yeah, really like that series. It hit, a lot of things that, despite being a show with like a lot of supernatural-esque candy coating on it, it dealt with a lot of very real things that humans go through, depression, addiction, sense of self, identity discovery. And, I always like, those vampire, supernatural, werewolf-esque, like those type of worlds, those type of plots, those type of settings. I always like those in the stories that are told with them. And I think I grew to appreciate that series more as I got older. I admit it's a little bit hard for me knowing, the main person behind that series. I'm not going to go further into that. If you know, but I do really still like that show.
Okay. You're back, Darren. Did you have a list or did you not have a list?
I hurried up and put together a list.
Okay.
I feel like 90s are a little weird because I wasn't technically born in the 90s. I am a 2000s kid, and I was going through the list of shows, and I love a lot of these shows, but there's not a lot I've seen like start to finish. It's me catching episodes and things on TV and on DVDs. But I did put up a list of stuff I grew up on a little bit.
Okay.
My first one I'll mention is the Super Mario show back from the 90s with the one that was a mix of animation and live action.
Yeah, I remember.
That catchy theme song. And for most of my life, that's what Mario was to me. Like, I didn't have a lot of game systems. I wasn't playing Mario. So, like, that was it for me. That was Mario. And it's very silly. It's very goofy. It's very 90s. And something about that show just kind of has resonated with me all those years. So when they had the little Easter egg inside the movie, when they like sing the song as the commercial, I was like, I know that. I don't know any of these other Easter eggs, but I know that.
That's funny.
God, and how I have that song in my head, that whole dance that they do during the credits. It's so catchy.
So fun. Yeah.
So catchy.
3Dub, did you have a list made?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so what's your first one you want to mention?
First one I want to mention is Dragon Ball from 1989 to present basically.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It was my first introduction to anime. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I started my anime journey at 21.
There we go.
Also, by the way, Darren, I think you know what one of mine on this list is going to be.
All right.
Let's see if I can get to it before you.
Damn it! You're
All
really
right,
going to do that, aren't you?
We're skipping over Buffy for me, which is number
I'm ranking
2.
mine.
Skipping over Buffy, which was the second one I wrote down. I think, but I want to give a shout out to Buffy for kind of being the blueprint for all of the like young adult type shows we have right now. That really was for me the one that one and Charmed, like the OG Charmed, sort of established what all the other shows ended up being. It was like they kind of started it, and then shows like Smallville refined it,
Right.
and then we ended up with like that great era of CW TV where everything sort of had the blueprint to work with. With that being said, number 3 for me, and I hope this is somebody else's because now that I've had one snatched away from me, I want to keep the ball rolling on that. From 1992 to 1997, X-Men the animated
God damn
series.
it!
That's
God damn
all across the board.
God damn it!
I don't think it was a perfect show, but damn, it had some great stories on it.
Yeah.
And I actually think X-Men 97, how great that show is, totally depended on how great the original series was. Because it all set it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sort of, I believe that X-Men cartoon was what they used to sort of lead into the X-Men movies, and they failed 100% with the movies to bring the same energy from the cartoons.
Yes.
So for me, X-Men the animated series was my number 3, and I'm glad that was like, I sank your battleship. I got another one. So
Okay, I'm gonna get that eventually. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit because I'm gonna go and spoil it. That is my fucking number 1.
is
So,
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all
I'm gonna talk about.
right.
that.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
So now you go to your next one. I've already erased. I'm gonna finish before everybody else, but go ahead because I just took Buffy out. So what is your next one?
Yeah. So mine going from 1998 to 2006, I have That 70s Show.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah, and
Much better than that 90s show.
yes. Again, despite controversies around people involved, I'm doing my best to separate that.
I actually feel like you can't pick anything from the 90s that doesn't have some sort of controversy attached to it.
There is some
so,
skeleton in every closet.
Yeah. So I get
But
it.
like I was, I had caught a little bit of it. I mean, I didn't watch it as it was airing because I was like 3 when it aired or when it premiered. So, but I always caught a lot of it on reruns as I was growing up, and dealing with a lot of things that those characters were dealing with. Kind of growing up into the points that you saw them in that show. Dealing with a lot of different teenage. Just all those different teenage thoughts where we're unsure about a lot of things going on in our lives, but we don't want to let anybody else know that. We don't want to tell that to ourselves, especially. Just a lot of good hijinks from the characters through and through. I'm not so. I was quite the what's the word I want to use here. Whenever I was watching stuff as a teenager, I always thought that I had to be like edgy and things like that to be cool. But going back and watching that one, it's like, yeah, there were some characters here that were definitely had some edge to them, but also I realized it was like, hey, I don't have to not every TV show that I watch has to be so serious and things like that. Like I can just sit down, laugh, and enjoy, and that's pretty much what that show was for me.
That's fair enough. All right, Darren, what is the next one on your thrown together list?
No, next one on my list. I might take this one from 3Dubs, I'm not sure.
Oh.
Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was a big one. It, like we're currently doing a show on Lance's channel, like revisiting that whole era, and it's been taking me back. And I remember at like first grade, like binging all of this Power Rangers, and there's so much. Not only Mighty Morphin like that. I've seen the entire era of like the 90s Power Rangers, and that's still my favorite Power Rangers. And that entire era has so much charm, it has so much culture, it has so much fun things to do, and even with its very high highs and its very low lows, there's a lot to unpack there. It was such a cultural thing that was so much fun for me to watch. And I think it was one of my first experiences like binging a show as like a young kid, of just like there's so much here to dive into.
Yeah.
So much
lore. So many spin-offs of that.
So many spin-offs, so much lore, so many characters. I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
So 3Dub, what is your next one?
Give me a second to pull up.
I'm
multitasking.
I was wondering, did he pick the same thing that you picked, and that's why you had to pick something else? So.
Actually, I did not pick Power Rangers at all.
Oh,
wow.
Second one is Walker Texas Ranger.
Oh, the OG.
Yep, OG.
Wow, that's crazy. I forgot that show even existed.
I'm a huge Chuck Norris fan. Sorry.
Yeah, there's so many memes from that show. I'm surprised I forgot about it. So.
He finally realized there were a lot of Chuck Norris facts, and recently he likes a few of them. Like Chuck Norris doesn't push up; he pushes the world down.
So here's my next one, and it's a 2-for-1. And the only reason it's a 2-for-1 is because it's the same. It's the same franchise. It's just
please don't take another one from me.
I don't think. Wait, I don't think you're gonna pick this one. I think I might be the only one that picks this.
Okay, I hope not.
Star Trek.
Okay.
So,
I got worried for a second.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager were two of my favorite shows in the 90s because they aired back to back on the same night. So it was like you got a double, like a 2-hour Star Trek movie every week with the two shows. Janeway is my favorite captain. Voyager was technically the first Star Trek that I watched the entire series of because Next Generation came out in the 80s. And back then I was more of a comic book nerd than I was a Star Trek nerd. So I didn't really care for it as much. I had to watch it back later on as I got older. But Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So 1992 to 1998, and then 1993 to 1999 because they aired slightly off by 1 year. So those were my two picks, my 2-for-1 in my next category. So what's next for you, Jake?
So mine is kind of again. I got scared because you had said like it's a 2-for-1 here, and mine is kind of a 2-for-1 too because these were two connected shows. Going from 1995 to 2001, I have Hercules: Legendary Journeys and Xena Warrior Princess. Those two were had very much. There was a lot of connectivity there. That whole again, that fantasy type world was one that I loved growing up. It was right in that perfect time where it was, late 90s going into early 2000s, that level of camp that I love from all of those different shows and films. It's also what me and one of my best friends still to this day, we really bonded over that through all of our love for those characters. In fact, somewhere, I can't find it currently, I might be able to show it off in the future, but I did actually get a signed autograph from Hudson Leak, who plays Callisto on those shows. But absolutely loved those. It has, like Darren was saying with Power Rangers, it just has such a distinct charm that is very unique to that time that I don't really feel like you would be able to replicate today. Is it a product of its time with that description? Probably, but still something I can go back and rewatch time and time again.
Okay. Fair enough. So, Darren, what is your next one?
My next one, and I haven't seen all of it, but it was a pretty big staple of my childhood. And actually started in the 80s and ended in the 90s.
Okay.
But that's Alf, the talking puppet alien.
Okay.
It's one of those franchises that my mom kind of passed down to me. Like, she grew up watching it. She gave me this little Alf pin at some point in time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird show. It's about a puppet alien who's eating cats and trying to get home.
Right.
It's like Superman, but a sitcom kind of, which is really kind of crazy to look back on it. And like a couple years ago, I like went back and watched it. I was like, man, this thing was crazy. Like, this was such a crazy show. A show that hadn't like it got like it like ended on like a cliffhanger. Like it
Didn't they do a movie to like wrap it up?
I don't think so. I don't.
No.
From my understanding, it like ends with like him getting. I think him getting taken.
Am I having
by
a
the
Mandela
government.
effect right now? I distinctly remember there was supposed to be a movie that wrapped up the show.
That was
so.
Nathan Fillion's show. That was the what was the show that he was on in the oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Nathan Fillion starred in like Firefly. Firefly wrapped up in a movie.
No. It wasn't a movie that went in theaters. Alf, I think, was a TV movie, right? Or was it a comic? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Go ahead, Darren.
No, you're fine. Like
There was a TV movie in '96.
Okay, that's fair then. That's fair.
It was called Project Alf.
Yes,
that was the name of the movie. Yeah,
that's free on Tubi right now.
And I know they also did like an animated show too that was kind of more, of that time.
like a Saturday morning cartoon, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then a couple years ago, they did the whole like Ryan Reynolds.
See, I didn't
collaboration.
lost my mind.
Yeah.
I was right. They wrap up the whole series in a movie
Okay.
from 1996. So.
I have to watch it then.
All right. With that being said, 3Dub, what is your next choice?
Jag.
Oh. That's connected to
it started
NCIS, right?
Yep, it started the whole NCIS franchise.
Project Alf is on YouTube to watch for free.
On YouTube and Tubi.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead, 3Dub. I didn't mean to cut
So
you.
Jag.
Yeah.
It started the whole franchise of NCIS and the Mark Harmon?
Mark Harmon, yes.
Okay, Mark Harmon's career in crime fighting. The best Gibbs.
This was one of my possible answers. I had it on my list originally, and then it got bumped off. But yeah, it was one of them. So, well, Jag, I haven't seen Jag all the way through, but that's a good
Speaking
answer.
of Jag, like there's this one when Mark Harmon guest stars on Jag, it's hilarious because there's two alphas that won't back down, and they had like a staring contest.
Oh my gosh.
It was hilarious.
So, before I give my final one, because I had to skip one out, before I give my final one, we did not reach the goal tonight, which is absolutely fine. However, if we get one more super chat before the stream ends, I will do a 2-option poll. So one more super chat of any tier, I'll do a 2-option poll for a topic. So that's up to the chat. We'll let them see if they
Just one more, you said?
Just one more. Yeah, one more super chat and we'll do a 2-option poll. And the 2-option poll we'll do like this one where it will be on Thursday's stream. So whatever the answer to this one is, will immediately be on Thursday's stream.
All right.
So
somebody give up one Starbucks coffee this month.
right, exactly, just one. But it's fine. We're not close to being done yet. We
Kidding.
still got a little bit of time left. So.
Yeah.
All right. So my final one is from Disney.
Okay.
And it's a cartoon from 1994 to 1997.
Mm-hmm.
Gargoyles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite Disney cartoons from that era. Highly underrated. I'm surprised they haven't done more with this property.
Right.
Considering
One in
it's
the works.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm so excited to see what they're going to do with it, but I'm surprised they hadn't done anything since 1997 really with these characters.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, but that's my final one. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. So that was my last one. So we'll go around one more time for you guys, and then you'll get your other options because I'm not going to pick another one.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's true.
so Jake, it is your go. Go ahead.
So you did mention one of mine, but I said I was going to bring this up because I just have to. My final one that I had, it was X-Men the Animated Series. Darren knows this. That is the show that just got me into the whole, nerd comic book spectrum. I have such an attachment to that show, both just as a show itself, but also externally. I've met several of the cast. I've met the showrunners. I have a script signed by them. And I've even got the collector cards in these little laminated things. I've just reached inside my desk for them, but I've got like these little character cards that you had, even the rare Miss Marvel one. That's not Miss Marvel. That is for that one episode in the '90s show that she was on. And like this to me is the definitive portrayal of the X-Men. But even beyond all of the all of the superhero stories that they tell, just that era of TV, that era of cartoons really had a very distinctive style that I really yearned for, but also to be mixed with the potential of what today's modern animation and technology is, which I think X-Men '97 has absolutely excelled at, given that same tone and mixing it with today's modern animation. Like, it's truly one of the best looking animated shows I've ever seen. And it really, again, like you said, it shows you how the X-Men are as characters, which is really something the movies failed at, because a lot of the movies should have just been titled Wolverine and the X-Men.
Or Mystique.
Or Mystique, yeah.
I mean, like, and those two characters.
Like, it shows you how they are as a team. Takes a character like Cyclops, who, in direct opposition to the movies, is an absolute badass in the cartoons. And
even more badass by the time we get to X-Men '97.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it, it just has that same sort of camp, from characters like Beast. It does it sound like, the biggest? Is it the most like Martin Scorsese level dialogue that you would see? No, I'm not saying that, but it's just got like
Storm would beg to differ.
Yes. But it's just got such, like Darren said in regards to another show, just such a unique charm, and it was my entryway into this whole nerddom world. So I have to have it as my number one for that.
Well, there we go.
Not only because it served as my entryway, but also because of all the different people that I've met to it that are connected to it, and made a lot of friendships through it. And yeah, so I have to go with that one as my number one. Sorry for that long preamble, but I have a feeling Darren probably saw that coming from the amount of time he's heard me talk about this.
Yeah.
So, Darren, what was your next one then?
Well, I also had X-Men on my list for similar reasons that Jacob was my first introduction to superheroism, but I replaced it with, and I don't even know if I've seen the whole thing, but it was pretty impactful. Boy Meets World. I think it's like one of the greatest sitcoms.
That's a good one. One of my brother's favorite shows, actually.
It's like I think it's so cool seeing the impact that a show like that can have. How serious it took itself. It's a comedy show, but it will break you down and it will tackle those tough moments. And I always love a show that can like travel with its audience. It starts off a little silly, and then the middle school and high school and college is like, whoa, holy shit, and this journey, and like it's not that good, but like I did grow up on like the Girl Meets World show that they had done later. I think retrospectively it makes that Boy Meets World show even better. And then as my final pick, because I assumed we're kind of wrapping up here, I had Magic School Bus. Was a show I grew up on a lot growing up. Like my mom stockpiled those DVDs for me to watch, and it was like it was a foundation of a lot of my like I struggled learning growing up. I didn't do very well in school, so I think that foundation actually helped me quite a lot of like.
Did that start in the 90s?
It did start in the 90s. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I didn't actually know that.
I'm pretty positive, but I feel like it had such an impact to like modern day. Like several years in my schooling, they were showing these like DVDs. Unless I'm wrong, maybe it is like a late 2000s. Hold on, I'm gonna look.
Jake called you out.
No, I'm not like trying to call him out. I just didn't know.
1994 through 1997.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
I'm in the
So
clear.
all of our shows ended in '97. It seems.
Yeah. 3Dub, what is is this your last one, 3Dub, or you have one?
No, I have two more.
Okay.
But I do have like honorable mentions.
I have a couple of those too.
I couldn't decide. Like I finally decided on the fourth one, but Third Rock and From the Sun and Saved by the Bell were.
Those are both good.
Were in competition for the fourth spot, but I went with Home Improvement.
Okay.
Oh,
That's another good one, too.
Tim Allen's best sitcom.
And my fifth one, since
uh,
everyone wrapped up, it's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
That's a good one, too.
I thought about that one, too. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about that one a little bit, but I was like, let's deviate a little bit.
All right, so before we start looking at trailers, I wanted to pull this up.
Oh, and yeah, somebody did bring this up too. None of us brought it up, but I'll just throw it out there. 90s Spider-Man, absolute classic as well.
Yeah,
love that one a bit. It's probably still my favorite adaptation of Spider-Man, if I'm being honest. So definitely have to give that one its due.
So I want to talk about, before we watch trailers, because we're going to watch some of these Netflix trailers, not all of them, just some of them, but this idea that we're having these flops this year and that they stand out because they're not doing well. I wanted to pull this up because it shows that even movies that are flopping or underperforming are still in like the top 10 movies of the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this isn't just like these movies are bad and that's why they're underperforming. It is a epidemic of like low sales of Hollywood in general.
Because people thought Captain America was going to be one of the biggest flops, and look, it's number 3 on this list right now.
Yeah. So let me explain something here. We got this this list. It isn't 10, it's just 7, which is fine. One thing I've noticed here is that the movie industry is being driven by family films at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch. And by the way, Lilo and Stitch looks like it's going to make $1 billion, like based on projections.
Yes.
So it'll probably knock Minecraft out of the number 1 spot. But these 2 movies are our top movies of the year, and both of them are absolutely 100% all ages movies.
Yes, and that's why it's kind of dominating the market right now, is because it's like applicable, or maybe that's not the right word, but it can appeal theoretically to everybody. That it doesn't look like the movie where, people that are like in their mid to late teens would go, oh, okay, I don't know if that one's for me, or somebody that's like older in their like 50s, 60s will go, oh, that's not for me. Granted, a lot of people that age aren't going to the theaters anymore, but even the ones that are will look at some of those movies and be like, I can get enjoyment out of this.
Yeah.
So what this tells me is I'm gonna let you speak, Darren. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
You're good.
There's a downtrend in spending on movies in general, unless you are going as a family. That's really what this tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Darren. Sorry.
No, you're good, Jake. Go ahead.
Just whenever you're going as a family, that's more tickets that are bought at once.
Bingo! Surprise! Yeah, you're going with like 5 or 6 people. The movies are going to make more money. That's the reason why. I actually think, Darren, you go ahead and speak, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on it because I want to give you a chance. Sorry.
I feel bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think this year has been like the first year I've been like legitimately worried about the film industry, and like seeing these numbers, like seeing Captain America 3 in like the top 3 is concerning because that's been considered like a quote unquote
4.
Yes, Captain America 4 has been like a quote unquote flop for Marvel and the industry. Thunderbolts has been,
but it's the third biggest grossing movie of the year.
Yeah. Thunderbolts is about to lose $100 million, and it's like it's number 4.
Yeah.
Like, we're at a very concerning point, and it makes me worried what these studios are going to take out of these results. Like, look at Minecraft. I hated Minecraft. I was not a fan of Minecraft, and it was, in my opinion, like studios being like, hey, let's just do stuff, and it's making money. Lilo and Stitch is another one. Like, people have been complaining about these live action movies for years, but it worked. This is why they keep getting greenlit, and I'm afraid they're going to look at these numbers and be like, more of that and less of Sinners.
They're like, hey, that Rapunzel movie? Go ahead and greenlight that one again because we just paid $600 million on this one, or $1 billion. I want to point out that we say that Marvel and Disney is dead, but 3 of the top 4 movie spots this year are Marvel and Disney, and one of them is Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and I imagine Fantastic Four is going to be joining those ranks.
And I think Superman is too. That's the thing. Yes. So let me tell you, this is what I was going to say a second ago. I'm glad you mentioned that, Jake. The one thing that I think Superman and Fantastic Four have going for them that neither Captain America or Thunderbolts did, they look like they're family movies. They look like they're made for families to go to.
Yeah.
Superman and Krypto, that's family. That's like a magnetic, like you might as well just throw kids at that movie. with crypto being like the main focus of a
Yeah.
lot of the promotions for it. And Fantastic Four is a movie about family.
Right.
That's what they're advertising it as. It's a family movie. So both of those movies, I think, have a probability of doing better than both Captain America and Thunderbolts just based on that alone, if you're looking at the way the market is trending right now.
And there's also, I think, a really big thing about, like, people are just not caught up on shit. People are
Yeah.
not as in depth with all these franchises that they used to be, and I think people are looking for things that they can go to a movie in an afternoon, not have to do any research, any homework, anything like that. They can just watch it, and have no problem with it. Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch is that. Captain America and Thunderbolt and Mission Impossible, and those
Even
are
Final
things-
Destination to some degree is not that either.
Yes.
I mean, even then, it feels like there are some projects that people like cherry pick what they feel is worth it to do the research and the homework going into, and what they don't, because like last year, for example, Deadpool and Wolverine, there were a lot of people that hadn't seen a lot of those X-Men films and Deadpool films before then, but they felt like, like this is another Deadpool movie, Wolverine's coming back, so they felt, okay, this is worth of me, watching all these other films, even the good or like the good and the bad ones, and doing all this quote unquote homework. And
I think it also showed that the fans of Deadpool are the fans of the X-Men franchise. That's what it showed me. Is like that's a connected fan base.
Yeah.
So for me, that makes the most sense. But shout out to Sinners for being in the top 10 in sales. I love Ryan Coogler. So shout out to him for doing that and being able to do that. Mission Impossible, just if that doesn't get into like that top 2 spot or top 2 or 3 spot, that financially that looks bad for Tom Cruise's career. I mean, I don't know what it means long term.
That was a $400 million budget.
Yeah.
They have to make buck.
It is pretty impressive, the fact that some of these movies like Lilo and Stitch and Sinners have made it to this point because they've only just come out.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're already like up here on this list.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch has almost doubled what Thunderbolts did in like 2 weekends.
So this also tells me that, and I have to make sure that people understand this. Disney as a company, money goes from one hand to the next. So if Lilo and Stitch is doing really well, and a couple of their Marvel movies are underperforming a little bit, that doesn't really. If Lilo and Stitch makes $1 billion and they make another $1 billion this movie somewhere this year, they don't care. It doesn't mean anything. They're still making money. We just talked about it a minute ago.
Yeah.
They were still up 21% in profit this year. Disney as a company is.
Yeah, because they're constantly putting things out too. They're like, okay, like this thing made money, this thing lost it, but this thing that makes it will account for that and then use the leftovers into the next thing. It's like one constantly rotating circuit.
Yeah. I will say, like, what does concern me a little bit is for specifically the MCU as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, this is a year of experimenting. This is a year of, giving Sam the, lens of Captain America for the first time. That's never really been done. Thunderbolts is a name not many people know, with characters not a lot of people know. Fantastic Four isn't like, obviously they're the first family, but like financially in the box office have never been a massive hit for Marvel.
Yeah.
So this does concern me if they're looking at these numbers. If they're like, well, Captain America didn't do that well, Thunderbolts didn't do that well. We don't know if Fantastic Four yet. It could go either way at this point.
Right.
If that doesn't do well, I'm afraid they might double down on like, oh, let's keep Downey around. Let's bring back Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Let's do a bunch of Spider-Mans. Let's just do Avengers property.
Because
and
I don't think they
does
would have let those
scare
guys
me.
go. I don't think they would have let those guys go in the first place if they didn't have like the X-Men in their pocket. And this happened during my Thunderbolt screening. Oh, spoilers, I guess, for anybody who hasn't seen it. But during that end credit scene, when you see the Fantastic Four ship pop up and the music start to crescendo, the row of people right behind me who had been extremely annoying throughout the entire film, by the way, but that's a different story. As soon as the ship popped up and the thing was playing, the girl sitting right behind me goes, "Oh, we waited for that. I don't give a shit about Fantastic Four." And I'm literally sitting here thinking, it's going to do plenty well without, ignorant people like you. It's going to do plenty well with that. I think word of mouth is going to be really good for that.
I just checked out of curiosity. I looked up like the most recent tracking numbers, or not tracking, projection numbers. I'll make sure I'm clear on that. Projection numbers for Fantastic Four. It says the opening domestically is looking to be between 100 and 115 based on analysts. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that right now most people believe the movie is probably going to get close to or exceed around 800 million, which would be a certified
That'd be great.
a hit for
which
them.
is good. It's not a billion, but still really good.
I don't think so.
It doesn't have to be a billion to be.
I agree, and I think we need to understand that these movies don't need
Those days
to
are
reach
over.
$1 billion. Like,
Yeah.
the Avengers movies will, which is fine.
Yeah.
But the individual films, I think we should be realistically. I think what Disney and Marvel should be accepting now is that 600 to 800 is the amount of money that they're looking to make on these movies, and then adjust the production accordingly. Just shift back production, and then your 600, 800s feel like $1 billion.
Right. And your only ones outside of the Avengers that made like the billions were your event movies, like your Deadpool and Wolverine, your Spider-Man No Way Home, and
Captain Marvel.
The fact that it made so Captain Marvel and
it was because Endgame,
that one because it was right there, and one's like Iron Man 3, it came right after Avengers, so they were like that honeymoon period. But even coming like right after No Way Home. Even though people were mixed on a movie like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it still made $955 million. Yeah. And people were mixed on that movie, but it made a lot of money.
Here's my fear with Fantastic Four right now. If those rumors are true, and I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying there's a lot of reports saying it was kind of a mixed bag for some people.
I've heard that wasn't confirmed as like real, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's false, whatever. But, I think that's going to be a big component. I said this with Thunderbolts 2. If people come out and they're like, hey, guys, this isn't it, I don't think that's going to do well. I think you have to come out streaming being like, this is great. But again, I said that for Thunderbolts 2, and it didn't do as well as I thought it would do. So, but, again, people are not going to... I think people are only going to go to MCU movies going forward if they hear it's excellent. Right. If they hear it's incredible.
So I want to give a shout out to Mystic Troll from my Debunks channel. I did hit 4K this week. So I do appreciate all you guys out there supporting me. It means a lot. 4K is wild to go into the summer with. I'm hoping to have 5K by the end of the summer. That would be awesome.
There you go.
And 10K by the end of the year. Let's fucking go.
There you go.
Let's fucking go.
You've also had 4 super chats.
Yeah, we're going to get to those as soon as we're done with this here. You guys are amazing. The super chats came through. I'm I took the goal down, and then all the super chats came through. I'm so I guess we're doing a regular poll now at this point.
Yeah.
But you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the support. My cat really appreciates it.
And then just to ask this, were we going to do that other list in this stream or save that for a different one?
So what I'll do is on Thursday, we'll do less topics, and we will do more chat bonuses. So... what will happen on Thursday is I will pick whatever the big, unless there's a million great stories between now and Thursday. I don't think there will be. I'll pick one major thing to talk about, and then we'll just clear out the tonight's goal and the other topic, which is the superhero movies that are not Marvel and DC.
All right.
So, yeah. So Darren, this is about the guy that gave apparently gave the original information about the Fantastic Four being mid or whatever. He said, "Hi, everyone. I'm the guy who saw the F4 test screening and responsible for some of the subsequent reactions. No plot leaks. I had nothing to do with those. I've been seeing a lot of reporting on anecdotes and the facts that they recognize my own. I wanted to debunk some of the misinterpretations I've heard. No one screamed mid in the audience. Yeah. There was a guy next to me sighing and flapping his hands around when the movie was over. I asked his opinion. He said it was mid. I told this story on Discord right after I left. Certain insiders have blown the story out of proportion, saying that some lunatic screamed mid in the theater. This is 100% untrue. 2, although the people next to me may not have liked it, there was an employee asking around random people for their reactions. I heard a lot of excellence and the highest rating on the survey. The film is fast-paced, but not a mess. Yes, I admit I'm not 100% positive on the film, but it's partially because I'm a hardcore Fantastic Four fan. I'm extremely bothered by the fact that Reed didn't turn into any crazy shapes, and that bothered me that the Thing doesn't have his Brooklyn accent. You know what? I didn't think about that. That is a valid criticism. Normal people and general audiences will not care about these things. That makes sense.
Okay.
Right. He goes, with that being said, the lack of character development is a serious concern for the film. The characters go through no growth. However, Reed, Johnny, and Sue's personality are on point. They just don't go through any meaningful growth, I think is what it says. Change. Don't go through any meaningful change. So that's very minor complaints, and I don't think the general audience is going to care about that, to be quite honest.
No.
So...
like I said, I've said for all year, if I come out happy, I'm fine.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through these super chats. You guys are amazing. Like, you came through all of a sudden, which is great. Serenity with the $2 super chat. I saw you respond to this. Jake is my long lost twin, mentally identical.
I think that's because we had a lot of the same
praise.
show picks.
I want to know. I mean, should we be concerned? Is there something you're not telling us? Is there like a? Is there
long
another
lost
Jake out there
sibling.
running around somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
There's.
I'm afraid of that.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of an extra running around.
Cameron with a $5 super chat. Off topic, I recently found out that DC Naomi has stopped appearing in comics after the whole Dark Crisis and Infinite Earth event. It sucks, but I think the show harmed that character.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So,
Man, why are like all the Crisis events in the comic books just bad lately?
I think the problem is there's knee-jerk reactions to stuff, and I will never understand, why these places do that. Why there's such a you have one bad thing and you just remove a chess piece from your board. It's kind of crazy to me, honestly.
I can just see. I remember saying this on another podcast I used to be on called Four Corners, where shout out to Four Corners, I guess. But we were talking about whenever Heroes in Crisis dropped back in the day. If anybody remembers that, not great story, and that story kills off Wally West and Roy Harper, and I just remember during that podcast, I was like, I can just see good old Dan Dido giggling in his chair right now because Wally West is among the number of characters he really hates. Dan Dido was a very prominent figurehead over at DC for a good amount of time. And he cannot stand characters like Dick Grayson and Wally West and loves seeing them just beat into the ground and demeaned in every way. So whenever that just happened, I know this is a random rabbit trail, but it just gave me flashbacks is all I'll say.
All right, we have another super chat here, and this is about anime.
Huh? Oh, what did I miss?
From South Texas Shark, $5 super chat and a team member. Thank you so much.
Good one.
I finished watching. Is it Frenren? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Frenren.
It may be my top 3 anime and highly recommend it. So you said it's a good one. Has anybody else watched this yet or no?
It has a lot of I would say
Ren. There's not 2 N's.
It's hard to spell, so I'll give them a bit. For me, it had a lot of meaningful story. It had it didn't have a lot of filler. It was basically a really well written show, in my opinion. Even for anime, which is like I'm putting on a pedestal right now.
Have you seen it yet, Darren?
No, I'm not a big anime guy.
What about you, Jake?
I've been getting more into anime, but I have not seen that.
Okay. Well, thank you, South Texas Shark.
It's basically like it's like an Ezekiel that already happened. Basically, it's the aftermath of them after they transported. And this elf can't die. She lives long life. And she's been living, she watched the heroes that were summoned die. One by one.
All right.
That's basically
the poll is live because you guys, we've officially hit the goal, even though the goal came down. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Before we bring up the next one, we actually got 2 more super chats. Before we bring those up, Darren, did you want to talk just briefly about Karate Kid? Because I know you had a weird situation where you went to see it and you only saw the second half of the movie or something.
Yeah.
I went in, and it did happen to be our fault once we looked at the tickets. We went into the wrong theater. But yeah, no, we went in. We saw the last maybe 45 minutes, maybe, and that's most of the stuff I think people were very excited about. And I'm going back tomorrow, so I should hopefully have a better...
We'll put a pause on that so you can tell us more about it after you've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, I will say, I didn't like what I had saw. I was not a fan, and again, I bet it works a lot better with the full context. I will not, officially review it or officially talk about it and put my stamp on it until I've seen the full picture. I think that's only fair.
You gave
But-
it 2 stars on Letterboxd.
Because I imagine you were probably trying to play catch up while you were watching it in your mind.
I did, and like, I think the stuff I missed was all the setup, and then I saw the execution. But but like everything I saw was everything from the trailers, and I think it's everything people kind of came to the movies to see. And that stuff itself, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Like, I already saw this for free, and now I had to pay for it. And I'm kidding.
Wow.
And we spent about $40 that day. I bought tickets for 2 people, and then they wanted a popcorn too, so it ended up like $40. And I was like, man, that's, I don't know.
So I've got to tell you guys something we're doing soon. Don't let me forget to mention it after this next super chat, but I want to do this first. So Cam with a $5 super chat. An even Blue Beetle comic referenced Naomi disappearing last year because I think Naomi and Jamie used today. So she's just gone completely. Like, they don't even talk about her anymore. So she's missing in action, I guess.
I
mean, that's pretty crazy that the show got it so down bad that she just got completely removed.
They got the show treatment. No one talks about that either.
Yep. Like Darren says, if Naomi has 0 haters, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. All right, before we do these next 2 super chats.
Yeah, what was that thing you wanted to mention?
So I got a gift card as a gift, a late birthday gift. So my birthday was back in March, and I got a gift card for Amazon like the other day from a friend that I hadn't seen that doesn't live locally. And so we are going to buy a few things to turn the other, like, you guys have seen the big room in the house, the open room that we have, like I don't know what you'd call it, lounge, whatever. We're going to convert that into a pseudo movie night room.
Ooh.
Oh, fun.
And so we already have a popcorn popper that we've had for years. So we're going to put that onto like a rolling island thing or whatever. We can just roll it out from like the garage, but it's got a popcorn popper on it. We are going to buy, and I found this on Amazon. It's not even that expensive. A hot dog roller, like one of the things where you have, you know, like that you can just have and it warms the buns underneath. Like if you keep the buns in there, it keeps them like toasty or whatever.
I'm
So
coming over.
we're doing that. And
Next joke if he were here.
and I found it on Facebook Marketplace of all places. Somebody, like a small theater chain, I guess, was selling these pieces off, and somebody got it. A nacho warmer with the nacho cheese thingy on it, so you can like keep the nacho cheese warm. So we're gonna have all of that on like a little table, and then I ordered like the mini travel packs of like Mike and Ike's and hot tamales and all of that. So we'll have those like sitting out. So we're gonna do a movie night with some friends. I don't know which movie we're gonna watch yet, but we're gonna pick one. Probably Minecraft, because we didn't go see that in theater, so we're just gonna watch that at home.
I won't be surprised if Darren disappears midstream and then you hear a knock at your door later.
Yeah. No, we want to like do those once in a while.
That's
and
fun.
I actually wish YouTube was more relaxed on copyright if we're not showing anything, because I would love to have the camera turned on while we're watching so everybody could sort of see all of us watching it. But the problem is it'll pick up the audio from the movie and then it'll immediately shut the stream down. So that kind of sucks. But I've heard that there's other streaming platforms you can do that on, and they don't kit you for it. Like, I think Rumble's one of them.
Yeah, Rumble.
Rumble, you can literally watch a movie on Rumble, and they won't shut your stream down.
You don't have to lower the opacity either.
That's crazy.
I feel like stuff like that you probably do like via like Discord, like make like a private your chat.
By
feature.
the way,
Yeah,
by the way, I am working on a Discord server for everyone. So that'll be available soon. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a combination of the 2 channels coming together into one Discord server.
God.
Get ready for that one.
And you guys thought the Arrowverse had crazy crossovers.
Yeah, it's going to be funny. Cameron with the $2 super chat. Do you think we'll see Kate Kane Batwoman in the DCU? Probably not. Look, I would love to see that, but I think we'll see the Batgirl show up before we see Batwoman. Most likely.
Yeah. Down the line, I could see it though. But you're right. I think there's other Bat family members that would happen.
Once we get an idea of what the Bat family is like first, maybe she'll come down the line.
Here's the thing. If Superman fails, we will get all the Bat family members over and over and over again for the rest of time. So look forward to that. That'll be a good one.
Yep. And then all the villain spinoff movie. Wait, never mind.
Yeah. Staggerforth, the 1-eyed super chat. Did I miss the 90s TV? You literally
Yes, you
Let's
did.
do it again,
missed
guys. From the
You
top.
just
Roll it
missed
back.
it. No, we spent like the last 30 minutes doing it. You missed it. But it's like back up, put it at 1.25, so it kind of speeds through it, and then you'll catch up with us here again, Steigermore. But thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. All right,
Back in time.
the poll is live. Here we go. Let me show you what the options are. So here are the options. Our 5 worst movies from the 90s. Our 5 best movies from the 90s. We're going to stick on the 90s
movies
theme.
more than TV.
Love.
Team battle, you pick. Now, I've explained this before. What will happen is the chat will pick a villain, and then we have to build our team without using the same characters to defeat the villain.
Oh.
So if they pick Apocalypse, then we have to build a 5-person team to face Apocalypse without taking characters that other people have already selected.
Are we able to cross universes in that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'd be just Marvel or DC for now. We might do that down the road.
Darren's like, damn it, I was gonna have Critical Face Apocalypse.
The other one is top 5 superpowers, which is what our personal top 5 superpowers are. So
Oh, that's fun.
That'll be a fun one.
So
Yeah.
you guys vote on that poll, and we are going to now.
I wouldn't be upset if another one of the 90s ones won.
90s movies would be fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or best.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot more 90s movies than I have shows because it's just much easier to watch it
Right.
completed.
And Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, but your favorite movie is a 90s movie, is it not?
It is.
Okay. Well, I wanted to make sure I was right on that.
So I've decided we're going to go to Joe Blow trailers to watch these, only because I know Paigey hates them, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pull up on the screen here. I've watched most of these already, but we can watch them again together. The One Piece one is just literally a teaser. There's no point in watching that.
Yeah.
I will say this. The ones that looked good to me that I wouldn't mind watching again was Gen V Season 2.
Mhm.
I think that was a good trailer.
I will
This was
say,
surprisingly good.
just for warning, I did this same thing over on my channel this week. All blocked. Every single trailer.
You had to remove all of them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So just warning, you might have to do that afterwards.
Frankenstein is definitely the one I'm looking forward to the most.
All right, so here's the deal. Since they're going to block them and remove them, which 2 do we want to watch together?
I think Gen V has the
Okay.
most meat on the bones,
Uh-huh.
and then maybe Frankenstein. I
Yeah,
feel like that's
Yeah.
Frankenstein surprised me, but
I
we're
just
going to
want to
watch
see
it
that trailer
again.
again.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
that.
So here we go. Let's
Yeah.
do
Getting
Gen
like
V.
the start of another like horror-ish verse, you know?
I hope so. And if it's Del Toro's horror universe, I am
I'm
Yeah.
there. For
all
it,
in
man.
for
I'm
it.
there.
I'm in.
there.
Yeah.
All right, if you're watching this on playback, Darren has already told me this is probably going to get removed. Excuse me. So just prepare for that.
Jesse
Or
Rath?
where?
That looked like Jesse Rath in that truck.
I don't think so.
No,
It
no.
looked a little bit like him.
I actually have enjoyed this show more than last season of The Boys. Like I had more fun with Gen V
Yeah.
season 1 than season 4 of The Boys. So
I like Gen V season 1 over every season of The Boys, which is a really hot take.
that's pretty crazy.
But it's just a show that I enjoy more. Just like its setting
It
and its characters.
reminds me of like what the New Mutants could be if the Marvel did a show about them, because that's what this gave me. So
Yeah. It's very.
It gives me like mutant vibes or like X-Men vibes, because this is the idea that Magneto had for the longest time, that obviously mutants were the better version of humans and that humans should be subservient to mutants because they're a lesser being. So they're doing that here under the guise of Make America Super Again.
Yep. And it's very interesting because we talked about the start of the year, Eric, how politics and media are going to be blending very interesting this year. And I think The Boys is one of the biggest contenders of that. And I've almost been turned off a little. Like, I'm always very okay with like politics and media because I think it is important, but also I think The Boys has gotten so close, not even probably on purpose, but like so close last season with real life events. It's like, oh, this feels wrong. This feels weird how close everything is.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're really doubling down on the season.
I actually think that Gen V's first season handled the real world parallels better than The Boys' most recent seasons have.
Yeah.
So looks like they're walking into like a training room or something.
Deadpool Wolverine line. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't invent that.
I saw this trailer and this scene came on. I'm like, what the fuck? A death battle like in the middle of the school?
Fun.
Like, this is crazy. But I mean, I love it, but it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
What? That didn't happen where you went to school?
no, not at all. So I want to put this out there. It looks like they're tying in the story with Chance by actually
Yes.
killing off the character on the show.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's going to be part of the mystery. Do we like that or do we not like that? What do we prefer?
I like it, and I unfortunately think this is probably the best scenario I've seen of this, just because it's set up last season and they didn't even know it, right? Like you end season 2 being like, my dad's sick and I'm going to get that too, and I don't know if that's the direction we're going to be going with that, but I think very similar to what Wakanda Forever did, I think they're going to be able to honor him on screen and make it a whole storyline and honor that actor, and it's such a damn shame because I thought he was one of the better parts of season 1. I thought he did such a good job, such a young actor too. It's such a damn shame to see what happened to him, but I'm also curious to see how what storyline comes from that, because I could see that being one of my favorite things they do next season, just in terms of that father storyline and what they're going to give him to play off of is going to be interesting.
Cody said I heard Marie's going to be in the final season of The Boys.
I can see it.
Yeah. Sounds like Charles says, hell, they did that in my school. Yeah, R.I.P. So, look, I'm excited. This is a show where because with the last season of The Boys, even though I was watching it, I felt like it was too heavy-handed in some of the parallels that it was doing.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're getting Make America Super again, and this whole concept of eugenics and stuff like that. I get that parallels to kind of what we're dealing with the real world, but Gen V typically has been smarter about it than The Boys has. It doesn't feel as heavy-handed, so I'm hoping that continues into the season.
Yeah.
A super fight club under the school sounds crazy, but also exciting at the same time. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm really interested in the idea of them using this school as a way to recruit new soups for their army. That's such an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Just how you spread propaganda from such a young age, and it's oh man. And I think it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was able to do in those early seasons, where it's it's not the main MCU movies, but they can set up these ideas and these theme stuff that maybe doesn't even fit in that main show, but fits very well with these characters over here. I think that's really sick.
And I loved how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually got to the point where they're we have amazing characters on our show. We don't have to worry about the movies, and they just focused on that. That was
because in some of the early seasons, they were, they connected to the movies, they had connective tissues, whether it's dealing with the fallout from something like Thor 2 or Cap 2, but they didn't rely on the movies to keep them afloat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so curious what Gen V looks like after The Boys. What does Gen V look like in season 3?
Do we get characters from The Boys showing up randomly on campus,
Because they would now be the main show in this universe. We know we're getting Boys Mexico, we know we're getting the prequel series with Jensen Ackles. So it's they're gonna have to take the reins and take over as your main ongoing show. So
they might actually see a budget increase once that happens, because they could take some of that money and throw it their way.
Anybody who thought Jensen Ackles was going to be Batman looks like he's busy now. Kidding.
Silhouette of Anime with the $2 super chat. Netflix taking their time with the Sandman teaser. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I think it's a pump and dump type of thing for them with Sandman.
With all the controversy, they're just it's here, guys. Just whatever.
I would be shocked if we get any big fanfare at all before that comes out. One day we're just going to turn on Netflix and it's going to be there. Is what I think is going to happen.
With Ironheart on Disney Plus.
Jay Bird says, I wonder we'll get our first teaser for the new Star Trek series. I don't know, but I kind of feel like Paramount is in this weird position where I think it's Skydance is the company they're thinking about merging with or whatever.
Yeah.
Where they don't know what they're going to do yet. So, it is what it is. All right, let's watch the Frankenstein teaser, and then we will see who wins the poll and wrap up the stream. Oh, November. Okay, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But still, holy shit.
God.
Holy shit. Cody, I agree. $5 super chat.
Yes.
I hope they change their mind and put this in theaters.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Eric, if
100%.
you can use your little movie theater setup just to throw that on and.
Oh my god!
Oh,
When I tell you, we were going through before the stream started, and I was like, let me go through and watch some of these trailers because there's so many of them. And we got to that one, I was like, I don't even remember hearing about this. Like, it was one of those things where I just didn't remember hearing about it. So we put it on, and as I'm watching it, we paused it about on the scene where he's in the sunset in the background.
Yeah.
I stopped it, and I was just like, this is a Netflix movie?
Yeah.
Del Toro's doing a Netflix movie and it looks like this on Netflix? I want to see this in theaters.
yes.
Biggest screen. I think Netflix needs a change in terms
Yes,
of
it needs a change in leadership.
yeah, there needs to be something happening with their movies because you are getting these big movie franchises. You have Narnia, you have Knives Out, you have this, you have
That trailer looked good too, by the way. It was only a small short teaser, but I was excited for
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
if you were going to get these big actors with these massively huge budgets and these big directors, I think they at least need to do a limited weekend, even if it was make it feel like an event. It's for 1 weekend only.
Right.
Frankenstein in
Can
theaters.
you imagine
If you're
how,
getting-
how beneficial that would be to theaters?
Yeah.
To do that?
If you're getting products that look like this, you need to put that into a theater.
I wanna see it on the biggest
that
screen.
That is not like a B grade, up and comer movie maker type of thing. That is quality.
Yeah.
Make that a Nosferatu theater experience.
Think about this: the MonsterVerse they tried to do versus that trailer we just watched. That looks better than every MonsterVerse movie that we got.
he won an Oscar,
it's a
right?
night and day. Yeah, it's a night and day.
Yeah.
And you're getting big names, people like Mia Goth, who's been in horror franchises. You're getting these people that are, granted, are they people like your top earners, like people like Robert Downey Jr. and The Rock? No, but they've proven themselves in this genre. They have talent.
Oscar Isaac.
You've got Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Your proof of concept is there. This is going to make an impact. Put it in the theater.
Yeah. So Silhouette Anime with the $5 super says might be the definitive version, along with Ford Coppola's Dracula. Maybe. I like the idea of a shared monster universe.
Yeah.
They've never been able to do it right.
No.
They've tried, but they just haven't found the formula.
And I think the formula could be just having Del Toro do all of them.
Yeah, because that way you won't have different directors conflicting visions as to how characters are supposed to be,
Right.
or what your grander narrative is. You won't have people butting heads over, let's do this here, let's do that there. You won't have any of that. It'll be one person's unified vision from start to finish, and you won't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? In theory, you shouldn't have any issues.
You won't have Love and Thunder and Secret Invasion, essentially is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd go that low, but yeah. Yeah.
See, that's change in tones all over it.
Yeah, changing tones and just messy productions.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what you guys picked on the poll. We're going to end the poll, see where we're at. All right, 55% wants us to do top 5 best 90s movies on Thursday. So that's
And
what
you
we're
know
gonna
what,
do.
Darren? Because I'm a nice guy, I know what one of yours is, and I won't steal it.
So that means it has to be a movie that came out between 1990 and 1999, because this isn't like TV shows where it's all over the place,
Right,
literally
right,
1999. And they can be anything. It's our top 5 90s movies, and we're going to do top 5 favorite superhero movies that's not Marvel or DC.
Yep,
Oh,
I already have.
fun.
I already have that list down.
Yeah. So those are the 2 lists we're going to knock out on Thursday.
I'm
So
trying to think if there's any crossover I could do there where one's on both lists.
maybe.
There's one I'm thinking of where I'm I think that could fit.
So there's more than one that you would have to know that they exist.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Speaking of, we didn't watch the trailer for it, but Happy Gilmore 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So my
I-
issue with what are you gonna say, 3
I was about to say, I actually was a little intrigued by it.
Look, I liked the first Happy Gilmore. I like those
Yeah,
movies are guilty
love that
pleasures of
movie.
mine. But my issue with making movies now that are supposed to be continuations of movies from then is there's a difference in the way the cinematography looks from those movies to these movies.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily a downgrade, but it always looks like a downgrade. Because they do those sweeping shots now that look beautiful in movies that are made now. But when you look at those compared to movies from the 90s, it always looks like a downgrade to me. I don't know why. And so much green screen as well, I think
Yeah.
is another issue.
That's probably part of why, just because visually it's a downgrade and that sets a bad precedence for the rest of it.
Right. So I don't know. We'll see. Plus, Happy Gilmore isn't like a bastion of like cinema, but
No,
No.
I mean, it's
Adam
My-
Sandler's got to deal with Netflix, so you know.
My dad has like asked about updates from this movie like every month, being like, "So when's it coming? When's it coming?" I was like, "Soon, Dad.
There's a
it's
bunch
coming."
of people in their 30s and 40s that are going to be waiting for that movie.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
That's still probably, like Eric said, it is a guilty pleasure. It's still probably one of, if not my favorite Sandler movie.
Yeah.
we do have a super chat. here
Billy
from-
Batson was also pretty funny.
Also, Darren, I sent you something.
Oh God.
I think Billy Batson was Adam Sandler.
Billy Batson, Billy Madison.
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison, sorry.
Yeah, Billy Batson is from Shazam.
I was like, Shazam?
Yeah.
Zachary Levi?
$5 super chat. Speaking of Love and Thunder, unworthy Thor is apparently in Doomsday. If I were to guess, Thor kills Hercules and Gore's daughter hates him for it. I mean, the thing is, there is essentially they can do any story they want when Battle World is happening because those things happen in pocket world, like pocket societies. So they can do anything they want, essentially. So I wouldn't be mad about this. Unworthy Thor sounds interesting. But if you read the comics, there's like thousands of Thors.
Right.
Literally thousands of them. So
And we've already gone through that whole unworthy arc of him, and Thor's been one of the characters that's been most guilty of inconsistency in character development, of learning one thing, and then when we see him later, suddenly he's regressed from that. Do we really need to do that with him again?
well, also a lot of people, we talked about this last stream about the Chris Hemsworth retiring or whatever.
Yeah.
That would be a massive spoiler for the movie if he did that on social media right now. So I don't think he's actually going to go away. I think we're going to see Thor continue, but he may not be the Thor that we continue with.
I still think that
Give me Beta Ray Bill.
Maybe they could do it.
they already did the Loki's not worthy storyline, so I kind of want to see him, like, what his character has gone through, and him picking up Thor's hammer would signify that he's a changed man.
I actually think if people have not read the 5-issue Secret Wars from 2015, no offense to anybody, but I would say go read that because we need to temper our expectations on what these movies are going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And I imagine it'll probably still have a lot. It'll probably take different aspects of the 90s Secret Wars, the or not 80s, 90s. Anyway, the first one.
There's two previous ones. So,
But it'll probably take amalgamations of all of them and kind of use that as inspiration for this movie, along with whatever narrative they're telling. Because in Infinity War, I had a lot of plot beats from the Infinity Gauntlet story, but it was adapted to fit the MCU's pre-existed world.
1,000%. Staggervore with the 4.99 super chat. You can put the OG Lion King and OG Home Alone on that list.
Darren,
Darren's rubbing his hands together because he's like, what's going to go on that list?
interesting.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
You know what else can go on that list? Captain America 1990.
Oh, is that really going to go on the list?
I'm
Maybe.
kidding. I mean, hey, I have fun with that movie, okay? I acknowledge it's not great, but I mean, it's one of the only Marvel movies that was around for the longest time, and I watched it probably more than I should have.
There's as a person that spent most, like, the 90s was probably the most time I spent in theaters in my entire life. I have so many to choose from. So that is going to be a tough list for me to do. So
Funny
this
thing
is-
that we weren't born yet.
I know, and I was already an adult drinking alcohol in the 90s. So
That's gonna be hard because some of my all-time favorite movies are from the 90s.
So Chris here
yeah.
makes a good point. Frankenstein is my most anticipated film of the year, and the lack of proper theatrical run is embarrassing.
Honestly, I think it may have skyrocketed to the tippy top of my list now. Like,
Yeah.
Next to
And-
Superman, Fantastic Four, it might be like right after that might be Frankenstein now.
And like all this positive
about
buzz,
Smurfs?
might be enough to change the top people's minds and give it a theatrical release.
I don't know.
Nice.
We
That'd
still have
be nice.
Smurfs coming out this year. Smurfs
Because I know they're doing that with like Knives Out is having like a select theater release, and I
It's
know
like limited release.
Greta Gerwig is really, really pushing for Narnia to be in theater. So I hope.
Yeah.
I hope.
I think that Netflix could extend some goodwill towards theaters for like a limited release or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Mario here says, if this movie is taking cues from the Secret Wars, any chances we'll see the Maker? Or is that for a future movie? Look,
I love that Mario Sunshine thumbnail. Sorry. I just
yeah,
had
it's
to
a
comment
great,
on
that's a
that.
great one. If we're going to see the Maker ever in the MCU, it has to happen here, or it's not going to happen at all. That's my hot take.
Do you think they would do the Maker and what's the name? I've been saying it. Beyonder.
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah.
The Maker is essentially just the other Reed that tries to stop incursions from their side of the universe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday on my thing, like we were brainstorming on how they could do the theater release, and like we even said, let's like, okay, like you have to have like a Netflix account to like buy your tickets or something, so then you have to go in and do that kind of stuff. But like you can even do like a thing like a partnership with like select theaters where if you go in and they scan your like Netflix thing on the app or something, you can go see the theater. So it's like so like you have to have the subscription first, but you can still see
I think they could make it even easier than that. Netflix is the #1 streaming platform by far.
It
right?
has been for years.
So why not make it so if you have a ticket from the theaters, you get a discount on a Netflix subscription? So like if you go and see the movie, you get a little card with like a code on it, and it gives you like a month of Netflix for free or something like that, as long as you sign up for it, because then that benefits Netflix as well as the theater, and it doesn't cost anybody any money.
Everybody wants.
I'd be curious too, because like I know there were rumors a while ago about like maybe Netflix like opening up their own brand of like movie theater.
I think they were going to buy like one of the movie chains and just convert them into like a Netflix chain or something like that.
It's not a bad idea.
That was in talks. I don't know if it's still in talks or if they've made a decision on that.
It's not a. It's not. Talks. It's weird though, because it's like Netflix is one of the reasons why like theaters aren't doing as well as they used to. But it would be kind of interesting to be like, okay, obviously they could rent out regular movies too, but you could have these special events there. Like you could have your Stranger Things like premieres and stuff like that. Like your final episode. Like you could do that at a thing like that would be interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean it's weird to think that it wasn't, like as big of a prominent thing before, because for anybody who doesn't know, like people that are like in their like mid to late teens, early 20s, whatnot, like streaming has been a thing on Netflix since 2007. It has been on there for that long. That was 18 years ago now. So it's definitely grown like since streaming first started, because it started like prior to streaming. It was like a DVD by mail service, like back in its early days, for anybody who didn't know that. But I guess I'm just a little surprised that it's taken this long, I guess, for streaming to be that big of a prominent force. Like they're saying, oh, it's dead, streaming's killed it. It's like, it's been here for X amount of years, and it was never viewed as a problem.
Well, I think we talked about this a long time ago, before you were like coming on regularly, Jake, might even been a couple years ago, that if any of the streaming platforms were ever going to challenge theaters, it was going to be Netflix.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, Jake, like I think you're right. Like I think movie theaters will always be a thing, movies will always be a thing, but I am curious how it shifts over these next couple of years. Like I'm curious. I think the movies we get might start changing. And I think we're going to see budgets shrink massively over these next couple of years. I think, I think a lot of these franchises that used to be these major film franchises are now going to be like, you know what, we can settle with a TV show. We can settle on a streaming show instead.
And the fact that these theaters are upping ticket prices too, and, a number of things that have come out recently haven't been up to scratching people's eyes, so it's like they're paying more for less quality products.
Yeah.
So it just hurts the genre as a whole.
I want to point out here from Ghost. I think the only movie I know from these two guys is Talk to Me, I think. Or The Babadook. Didn't they have something to do with The Babadook? I don't really know a lot about their work, unfortunately. But I'll look into it for next time.
They did Talk to Me. I think this year they have one called Bring Her Back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they were on something called. I think there's even a sequel to Talk to Me coming out, isn't there?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah. Silhouette Animator with the $10 super chat says someone on Threads created a poster about the actress that had online harassment calling out the Chuds. A user said they left out Brie Larson and Javicia Leslie, and the poster said those don't count. Hold on, it's a 2 out of 2.
What actress are they referring to?
I hope people aren't picking and choosing which unfair hate matters because they personally don't like the show or movie. Oh, that Brie Larson from Captain Marvel and Javicia Leslie from Batwoman were left out because they didn't count. I don't know the total context of that, Silhouette Animator, because I don't know what the poster was or what it contained. But, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, Brie Larson was one of the biggest hate generators of that year. I mean, she went on for like a year after Captain Marvel. And I get it. There are people that don't like her, and you're totally entitled to not. Like, there's actors that I'm not a big fan of. But I think it's different when you go on like an all-out campaign where you make 3 to 5 videos a day, every day for like a year about how much an actor sucks. I mean, they did it to Rachel Zegler, too. So.
If you don't like an actor's work, just don't watch their product.
Yeah.
It's giving weird. It's giving like... all kinds
Obsessive.
of it's like it's like for real. But yeah, I would never say they don't count because I think the whole thing is you have people who you should never harass somebody because they got hired for a job. Right. That's weird. It's fucking weird.
And you can't just cherry pick somebody out of an equation because they were in something that you did or didn't like.
Yeah, exactly. And another $5 super chat from Silhouette Animator. Thank you so much. One more random tidbit. My provider striked me for redacting iZombie season 4 and 5. Can't watch those, so legal means Warner Brothers so they can... Wait, I don't... You don't have to say exactly where you are, but are you in the U.S.? Because I have heard about this happening, but I haven't heard about it in years. I know some places overseas, especially like Canada and the UK, like monitor where you're downloading stuff from en masse.
So
yes, I'm in the U.S.
They added a little bit on the Brie Larson, Javicia Leslie point.
Oh, really? Hold on. Is it down here at the bottom?
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
Let's see here. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
It was someone supporting the actress saying they don't deserve hate, including a bunch I can't remember names, but they cherry picked Brie and Javicia out. That's weird.
Who else was on that list? I'd be curious about.
I mean, I can think of a lot of them, but they would fall in the same category to Brie and Javicia. I mean, like Rachel Zegler's a big one that I can think of.
And
Kathleen Kennedy's another big one.
And let's be honest too, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but a number of people do have this opinion. They will like leave certain people out of the quote unquote hate circle or hate category purely because of physical attractiveness, and that's fucking
true.
sad.
No, that is true. 100%. You're right. You're right. So Silhouette Animator, I don't know if you have one or not. I would highly suggest this for every other reason under the sun. Get a VPN.
Yeah.
NordVPN. Yep.
This episode's
This episode sponsored by VPN.
I suspect Michael Rooker's Peacemaker character Red St. Wild is a doctor whose powers go to someone else after they die. Oh. That's interesting.
There's free ones, you know.
You mean like what's that character? There's a character that acts in the same sort of way, like their entity and their powers are like passed from one to another.
I mean, there's a few different types like that.
And the previous host is kind of like killed as a result. There's one prominent one I'm thinking of. I just can't remember.
I mean, there's other characters that have similar things like Dr. Fate, where it's like the helmet transfers from one to the other. That still wouldn't fix the problem if he's a Native American character. I know people are trying to figure ways to make that work. There is no way to make that work. If he's literally you would have to have a perfect series of circumstances for that to work. I don't even know if that would be enough. So, do we think Stranger Things will end strong? I'm just ready for it to end. That's just it. I'm ready for it to end.
I mean, that show, man,
I like Stranger Things. I really enjoyed like the earlier seasons, but the problem is that every single body involved with that has gone on to do bigger stuff, and so it has caused the show to get sort of like put in the back seat. So I want them to wrap up the story. That's how I feel.
Well, I'm really upset with how they're releasing that season.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
3 blocks that don't make any sense at all. I'm like, what are we doing?
3 blocks on holidays, like 3 of the major holidays of the year.
Because I already had an issue when season 4 did that. They did like
4th of July.
Most of it was released like right around Memorial Day, and then they released the last like 2 episodes, which those last 2 episodes is like 4 hours of content. They released that right around July 4th.
Yeah.
Because here's what's going to happen. Either one, you have to miss out on the holiday and your family and your friends to watch Stranger Things, or 2, you are getting spoiled.
Yep.
You are getting spoiled. You like if you don't watch day 1, you get spoiled for Stranger Things.
When I saw the teaser, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, they've really aged out because that show has been on the air for a decade. So
But I will say, and not so like I'm not saying this to excuse that point, but going with the whole 80s aesthetic, there is nothing more 80s than having a bunch of people 20 plus play teenagers.
You're right, and we'll go with that.
I'm just saying.
You're right. You're right. I'm not going to argue. Yeah. You win. You win the point.
I'm not saying that.
We've heard there's a time
it,
jump too.
Yeah.
So
it might be in the 90s aesthetic. They're finally doing it, guys.
Right.
They're taking it into the 90s.
Right. But haven't they said that they're like leaving a number of characters open for spinoffs?
Oh God, I don't want spinoffs.
They're doing spinoffs. Yeah. I mean, we're doing an animated show.
Animated, I'm okay with. I'm okay because that doesn't lock you into like actors being unavailable and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, plus, animated, they're able to like do it from just the comfort of their homes.
Yeah.
If they do like a live action spinoff, I want it to be like different characters. Like it's like in the world of Stranger Things. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Oh my God, that's right. Because was it 2016?
Trump's had 3 elections since.
Yeah.
15
That's
or
true.
16. When did that come out?
That's true.
Is that 2016 when that show came out?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
2017?
No. Season 2 was 2017.
Okay.
Because I know I know season 2 came out Halloween of 2017. I'm pretty sure season 1 was like summer of 2016.
That's crazy, y'all. I don't even know how to respond to that.
2 years after The Flash started.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The Flash was on like season 3 or some shit.
Yeah, and a lot of those shows that have like started after that, they started it and ended within the length that it's taken for this one to end. Kidding.
Oh, look what he's got on the shelf.
Yep.
$5 super chat. Hey Darren, I spy mid 10 box set in the background that said is missing the final 40 episodes. Oh, is it?
It is.
It is missing the final 40. All right.
I haven't decided if I want to take it back yet or not because they haven't came out with like the new updated versions from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving it in the packaging for now. I'm not touching it, and then we'll see. But also there's also kind of a coolness in my mind of like I'm one of the rare people that are missing episodes.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's cool in a way. But it's like, is that really a benefit? Probably not.
Next to your Power Rangers helmet, is that like Rebirth Green Arrow? Because that looks a little bit like Hartley, but I know it's not Hartley.
I am not up to par with all the characters and stuff, but
okay. Because like for a split second, it looked like Hartley. I was like, that's not Hartley.
That is definitely his design, though.
Yeah, 100%. Squid Game season 3. I haven't watched season 2 all the way through yet.
I haven't watched season 2 either. Whatever happened to that one? I know this series is. I don't even know if it's ongoing. I know it's got a good number of years on it at this point, but I remember a few people doing reactions to that like Red versus Blue series. Did that ever go anywhere?
Oh, Ruby. No, Red versus Blue is something else, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Red versus Blue. I didn't watch that.
It was like Red versus Blue and then like Scam or it was like SKA or whatever. These are like vague memories.
Jay Bird said that's clearly Robin Hood. I think you're right.
Yeah, probably. That doesn't look like a fox.
I liked how they keep like nodding at Robin Hood in the Airverse, where he's like, "I'm not Robin Hood."
Okay, couple things before we wrap it up tonight. First of all, I want to thank all of our guests for being here. We had Jake in the house, 3Dub, and Darren. And Jake is saying now that he is seeing people come over and show love on his stream. So we very much appreciate that you guys
Yeah,
are over.
I appreciate that. If that was anybody here, I was talking to Darren about this. We had 72 people in my chat last night. Like, we had 72 people watching.
Crazy.
So yeah, if that was anybody here, much love to all you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And I want to give a shout out to everyone who super chatted. You guys came through at the end. I'm like sitting there and I'm like, okay, we're not going to reach the goal. And then we exceeded the goal. So I do appreciate you guys for doing that. And Cody says, I'm really excited for you to have full context on Karate Kid.
Me too.
So,
Yeah.
There you go.
You already know the ending.
Quickly, though, I mentioned it earlier as I was like plotting and scheming. I do have a Discord server coming out. The way it's going to work is I'm in the process of building it now. I need to invite all of my mods over. Hint, hint. One of the people here. I invite some of my mods over to get them on the server. I've already got the bots running in there, so that's going. I've got the channels up and running. The artwork is getting done. And yeah, exactly. But if you are a channel member on either channel, whether it be Reloaded or Debunks, you will have first access and you will get a special level when you come in. So I will share that link on the channel member page, like on the post page under channel members. So you can join that way if you are a team member for either channel, whether it be Reloaded or Debunks. You both get early access in there, and there's a special level in tier for that. So if you guys would like to have access to that server early, you become a team member, and then you'll see that post go up next week, and you'll be able to come in and sign up for the Discord server. It is my first ever official channel Discord server for both channels. I've never done it before, but I've been trying to like put it all together behind the scenes. So I really hope that you guys are interested in doing that. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all the housekeeping for there. We do have another super chat. Silhouette Animator coming through here. Last one. You can keep going. Do you want to do more? I'll stay here if you want. Everybody else go. I'll stay. $5 super chat.
5-hour stream right now.
People are warming to the female server now for good reason. I think the hater chud saw that they gave her toes. I did see that. Somebody was like, why are her toes so hyper articulated?
Wait. People have been making a big fuss about toes. What did I miss?
Yep.
There's
a poster with toes, and people are like,
I need you guys to understand there's a huge fetish community for feet, and I'm pretty sure those toes are what set that community off. So, look, foot fetish stream. Exactly, Jay-Bird. That's what I was saying. We talked about it the other night. I'm pretty sure when I saw that, I mentioned something about it, but I didn't want to dive into it. But, again, there should be no complaining about this anyway, because it's another universe. It's like, I think they said Earth 838 or something like that. So it is what it is, right? Thank you for the super chat.
Wow, they're going at you now.
Look, I'm the leader. Really? You love feet? Okay, let's go. Let's do it. All feet stream.
Hey, watch.
All feet stream. Look, here we go. All feet stream.
I bet if Sydney Sweeney sold bottles of water with like her foot liquid in it, people would buy it.
Oh my God. Okay, with that being said, we've come to the end of the stream.
You were talking about the bathwater thing.
I know. We didn't think we were going to come all the way back. Anyway, we'll see everybody on, actually this weekend is going to be a bonus stream. It's going to be on Sunday officially. And we're doing a new thing. And this is what I'm doing for everybody that's a guest on my streams for the Nerdcast. On the weekends, everybody will have the ability to stream to their channels. So you will be able to stream this directly to your channel. So if people want to go over and show some love on some of the other channels, drop a like, subscribe, all that stuff, you'll be able to do that. So anyway, we'll see this weekend. I'll let everybody know the time like tomorrow. And yeah, so see everyone later. Have a good night.